Hey everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio. We're gonna get started here in a second. Waiting on Morgan, so we'll start officially when she gets in. She should be a few minutes. So, if anybody has any questions before we get started, let me know in the live chat. We have a lot to get to this week on Supergirl Radio. That will be a lot of DC FanDome recapping, and of course, the discussion of this week's episode, and a short discussion of the Armageddon trailer, which is not all that relevant to us yet, but we'll talk about it. So if there are any things that you wanted to talk about, drop them in the live chat. If you have any thoughts about DC FanDome or this week's episode, or anything related to Supergirl, feel free to share them with us. I see some people in the chat, so hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started here in a minute. I did come wearing my DC FanDome shirt that I got this year. It's a Batman version. You can see the bat symbol right there. Ooh, no, it's over here. They actually, DC sent me 2 of them of the same shirt. I don't know if I accidentally selected 2 in the cart, in the online shopping cart, or they just messed up, but somehow I ended up with 2 of the same shirt. So there's that, I guess. So bonus t-shirts, so that's fun. But DC FanDome had some good merch this year. Sometimes I get frustrated with DC's t-shirts because it looks like they just slap a comic book cover on the front and call it a day. And I'm like, well, t-shirt design is not all that impressive. So their DC FanDome stuff is very good. Those designs are good, but some of the other t-shirts I'm not as into. But yeah, so we will get started here in a little bit. Leslie does have a question. I'm just going to read it, so I'll remember to answer it. Leslie asks, why would the show have Kara quit Catco and have her discuss thoughts not with Alex but with William? Yeah, we'll talk about that. Definitely something that we will get to, because Kara quitting Catco is it's a pretty big deal. 4 episodes from the end of the show, where she's been working this whole time, and she also quit Catco in season 3. I don't know if people remember that. I had kind of forgotten it, but in Girl of Steel, the season 3 premiere, she quit Catco as well. So really, Kara Danvers, a real quitter. So we'll talk about that. So I'm going to go ahead and get our live stream set up and ready to go. I see Morgan is here, so we will get our stuff together as soon as I can find our intro, and then we'll get going, and we'll hatch it out about Kara quitting her job at Catco. I'm sure we all have lots of thoughts. So we will get started and talk about it in a little bit.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to discuss and review the Supergirl Season 6 episode titled Nightmare in National City. And they definitely did have a nightmare monster running around in National City. Well, but part of National City. Because there was a dome that secured the nightmare monster at one point. So I guess it was definitely and literally a nightmare in National City this week. So that did happen. But before we get to talking about this week's episode of Supergirl, we need to get to
the news.
Well, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and since I am a breast cancer survivor myself, I asked Morgan if she would be okay with us raising some money for an organization that I'm a part of that I strongly believe in. It's the Breast Cancer Research Foundation of Alabama. Since I moved back to the state of Alabama, I've been part of the junior board of this organization, and so I'm hoping to raise some money for it during the month of October. So we're going to treat the next two Supergirl Radio live streams as a charity fundraiser. We've done this before with a DC TV podcast, but also more recently we did a specifically and an individually a Supergirl Radio charity fundraiser. So we're going to do that again with the Breast Cancer Research Foundation of Alabama. There is a link to it link to where to donate in the video description below. I'm also going to put it in the audio podcast show notes. So if you'd like to donate, you could do it this week or next week. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. Anything is appreciated. So if you would like to donate, you can donate in the video description below, or if you're watching, it's kind of complicated the way I try to figure it out on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on the homepage of the YouTube channel, there's a donate button at the top right where all the rest of our links are. But you can find the link to donate in the video description if you're watching the live stream now. So I certainly would appreciate it if everybody could try to at least, spread the word, share the link around. If you can't donate, if you don't have any money that you can donate, that's perfectly understandable. But if you don't mind sharing the link and passing it around, that would be awesome. So we're just gonna treat this like a fundraiser. We hadn't done a fundraiser since last December. So
oh my God, it's been so long.
It has been a while.
Let's go, people. Let's go.
So we'll see how much we can raise in the next 2 weeks. So thank you, Morgan, for allowing me the chance to use these two live streams of Supergirl Radio to raise money for an organization that I care about. The funding that does go to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation of Alabama does stay in Alabama, but the impact of it is worldwide. There's a lot of research that happens in the state of Alabama. So thank you for anybody who is able to participate.
Yeah, that was a great idea. Rebecca pitched it to me and I was like, that's amazing. I said, I didn't think of any of these ideas. so I could take credit too. But it's a great idea. It's a great cause. So if you can donate, we would love it if you would. We always love doing these charity shows because they give back to communities, but also because I like to watch the numbers go up on the thing.
It's
I like
very
refreshing
exciting.
things a lot and going, ooh. So if you guys could just throw some money so I can have that in my life, that'd be great.
Well, next time you can pick the charity that we raise money for, Morgan.
Nice.
That will be something that you can do for the next one. So we can alternate it, I guess, every time we raise money.
Nice. I like it.
That sounds good.
Speaking of other things in the news, I had no good segue to that. So I decided to just call it out.
Just
and
do
underlined
it. Just go.
The CW released a trailer for The Flash Armageddon, a 5-episode event that will start on November 16th, not 15th. Don't watch it then.
Did I put 15th in the
No,
doc?
my brain saw 15th.
Oh, okay.
It is November 16th. Don't get it twisted like I just did. This event was going to feature Kyler Lee as Alex Danvers / Sentinel, but she was not featured in this trailer. So what's up with that?
So we really don't have much to share. People are trying to kill Barry's friends and family. What's new?
Snooze. What's Alex up to? That's what I want to know. I hope that we get like an update on how all the characters in Supergirl are doing, because this is going to be, post finale. But not by much. It's going to be like 1 week post finale. So I want to know 1 week post finale how everybody's
just check in with them.
Just checking in. I hope that they bring somebody from Supergirl back for every crossover, just so we can just get like periodic updates on the lives of the Super Friends. Esme's getting so big now.
Esme is graduating from high school.
They just show her like school photo in every crossover, just so that we know the passage of time is continuing.
We're all gonna feel so old. Yeah, I wonder if the reason they didn't include Alex was because maybe it would be spoilery. What if Sentinel has a new costume?
Ooh.
What if
the eye makeup has gotten bigger and bolder?
They don't want to spoil that. Because then we would see like, oh my gosh, she has more eye makeup. Something has changed. What is going to happen?
Something terrible has happened on the finale of Supergirl. Alex comes with an eye patch or something.
I'm just saying they might be trying to hide something. It could be. So in addition to getting, not really getting any new footage from the Flash Armageddon trailer for us as Supergirl fans, we did get a lot of stuff from DC FanDome. The second annual DC FanDome took place on October 16th, and there was quite a bit of a Supergirl represented throughout the event. So we are going to try to go quickly through this. There's a lot of stuff. So hang in there with us because I'm going to try to guide you through my FanDome experience. I don't know, Morgan, were you able to hop into the dome?
So much like the cast of Supergirl this week, I was outside the dome while Rebecca was inside the dome.
I was trapped
with the dream monster.
I was calling the governor.
Help, get me out of here. I don't care about Batman.
Send in the National Guard. Please get me out of here.
But I did sort of peek into the dome. I sort of like opened the curtains, looked around. I watched the Supergirl thing. I skimmed a little bit on the Smallville thing and went, I'll watch it later, and then forgot to watch it later. I meant to watch the Batman trailer. I had such high hopes for watching it, and then I forgot that too. So really, I watched the portion of the homework that I needed to do, which was the Supergirl section. But nothing else, really.
No, that's really important. I have to say, and this is just a tangent, but I want so much more from the Batman. I feel like maybe they're just not showing stuff this early, but I'm just like, this is not anything new and different so far.
But Rebecca, have you considered that if we just keep remaking Batman, eventually we'll make the most Batman version of Batman? We will get down to the essence, to the Earth's core of Batman, and only then will we be free.
There's a shot of Robert Pattinson as Batman punching a guy on the ground, and I was like, that looks exactly like the shot of Batfleck punching a guy on the ground for Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. It looks just like that.
Did you know his parents died, and that made him very sad?
It's gonna come up, I feel like, at some point, which is so important.
What happened to the Waynes? I wonder. I've never seen it before.
What if They survived in this one.
Oh, see, that would be a twist.
See, that would be
at
a good
this point,
twist. I
we've
like
had
that.
so many Batmans. Like, give me an Elseworlds Batman. Like, maybe this is what if we have like a well rounded Batman who's like totally mentally normal, no weird stuff at all, like running a bakery or something, and then for some reason he gets into shenanigans. Like but he's like really upbeat. He's like, come on, guys. I want to see that Batman because I've seen the real version 100,000 times at this point.
I don't know. Like there was one shot where like it was upside down. He was walking towards the camera and there was fire. And I was like,
what we
okay.
really need is another Batman origin story. That's what the world has been clamoring for.
Anyway, that's a whole tangent. I was kind of let down. Like they hyped up the Batman trailer all throughout this 4-hour event. And I was like, okay. I mean,
so it's just standard Batman stuff. That's cool.
I mean, okay. And this is coming from somebody who's loved Batman. I'm wearing a FanDome Batman shirt since I was 9 years old. So
I love Batman.
I had a poster of Michael Keaton standing in front of his Batmobile on my pink bedroom wall. So I've loved Batman for a very long time. So I'm a little bit of a snob. So don't take my criticisms personally.
We love Batman, but like make another movie. I can't see the same Batman movie another time. I swear.
We may need to take this to a Supergirl Radio Patreon.
Just called Batman. Why? Well, I've been on record saying that the only thing that WB feels confident in doing is Batman. So they're like, would you like some Batman with your Batman?
Yes. So there was quite a bit of Batman, but turning it back around. It was a lot of Supergirl at DC FanDome.
Nice.
Which was actually very surprising. I thought we were just going to get the Supergirl farewell tribute thing. But there was a lot of Supergirl. So right at the beginning of the DC FanDome live stream, because it was basically a 4-hour live stream, you just sat there and watched the video. They did kind of a sizzle reel of all their biggest hits, DC's greatest hits. And they had some comic book covers that were sort of coming at the screen. And I slowed it down to see what they were throwing up there. And one of them was Action Comics number 252, which is the official debut of Supergirl. And I thought that was pretty momentous because it looks like it's next to the first appearance of the Justice League of America, which also just happens to be, Morgan, the first appearance of Snapper Carr in the DC universe. So
groovy, Daddy-o.
Got two iconic covers there.
Two equally important characters made their debut.
Look, Snapper Carr helps the Justice League save the day. They couldn't have done it without Snapper Carr. It's very
essential.
Very important. Jim Lee also shared some art that he had done specifically for DC FanDome, and some of it did include Supergirl. So he basically did this big homage to Crisis on Infinite Earths, the comic book cover of that. And so one of the little sections that he drew was one of Supergirl. So we got a Melissa Benoist Supergirl suit in there. So that was pretty cool. And one of the really cool things I thought that was happening that I probably won't be able to go to because it's in Dallas, Texas at the AT&T, I believe headquarters, the AT&T Discovery District in Dallas, Texas. I've actually been there. That was where they had the Nightmares and Dreamscapes or whatever it was called, the exhibit about Zack Snyder's Justice League with the costumes. I went to Dallas specifically for that. So I have been to the AT&T Discovery District, and it is really cool because they have what they refer to as a media-rich lobby that features LED pillars that can be animated and feature sound. So Jim Lee, took all of these different panels and pillars, and he created different designs for each of them featuring DC Comics characters. And one of them was Supergirl. So that's pretty cool. So if you're in Dallas, Texas, please send us a video of the Supergirl. I wonder if she's animated. Some of them, like the Aquaman is kind of animated with like water and some of the fishes that are in there. So that's pretty cool. So I'm actually kind of jealous of the people who are in Dallas who could possibly go to the AT&T Discovery District, because that looked really neat.
That's cool.
And Jim Lee also shared a Chinese poster that was done for DC FanDome, and that also included some Supergirl in there. So that was pretty cool. So a lot of
that's
things
really neat
that I didn't expect to have Supergirl in them had Supergirl in them, including the Catwoman Hunted animation, the animated film that is going to be coming out. So it's an animated film about Catwoman, but Supergirl is among the characters that Catwoman seems to be facing off with. So Supergirl was featured in a few frames from Catwoman Hunted. So that's exciting, I think. So I don't know if this is the actual Supergirl or if this is like a costume party that Catwoman is breaking into, and these people are just dressed up like these heroes. I don't know. But I guess we'll have to watch Catwoman Hunted to find out.
I was like, Batman got shorter, right? Like
he's also really letting himself go. A lot of cake on that plate.
Batman is kind of like laid off of his like training regiment. Like he was like, you know what? Gotham's fine. It's Batman's time now. Batman's living his best life. He's shrunk a couple inches.
Gained a few pounds.
Gained a few pounds. He's like, you know what? Catwoman and I, we're happy. We're happy. This is the honeymoon phase.
You know, I'm not even going to judge him for it. He's earned that, I think. So good for him. So we'll have to see what is happening in Catwoman Hunted whenever that comes out. Also want to give a shout out to David M. Jones, who does some graphics for the DC TV Podcast Network. He designed our Supergirl Radio logo, and he was featured on DC FanDome in the, I guess, sort of the fan art submissions that were happening. So he did a version of the Super Friends opening title sequence with Arrowverse characters. So he submitted that and got featured on DC FanDome. So way to go, Dave.
That's really cool. I love that Bebo is in that as well, holding it down for Legend. Perhaps the second or maybe even first most important legend from that show. It's Sarah Lance and Bebo.
Would you be okay if it was just a show about Sarah Lance and Bebo?
Oh God, I don't know. That might be the buddy comedy we all really need in our lives.
I might actually watch an episode of Legends if that was the case.
I mean, that would be a great show. I can't lie.
Well, and you did mention that Smallville got some love from DC FanDome. It's the 20th anniversary of Smallville. They got a big Blu-ray coming out because you got to own all 10 seasons, 218 episodes of Smallville, including the one with the kryptonite gum. So it's a really, really important show. And they did have an interview with Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. And then some other cast members sent in some video messages, including Laura Vandervoort, who played Kara Kent and Supergirl on Smallville, as well as Sam Witwer, who played Davis Bloom and Doomsday. And well, I guess there was a guy in a suit who really played Doomsday, but Sam Witwer played Davis Bloom. And of course, both of them have been on Supergirl, playing Agent Liberty and Indigo. So that was cool to see them there. So if you're into Smallville, you can go check that out. All these things that we're talking about, there are links in the video description of the live stream, so you can go watch them for yourselves. DC Comics on their YouTube channel actually did chapter markers for the entire 4-hour
That's very
video.
nice of them.
So helpful. So thank you to DC Comics for putting in that extra effort to make things so easy to find.
Blessings upon you, DC.
So I have that link in the video description as well. So if you want to go skip around to things you're interested in, you can do that. So that was super helpful that they did that. But all these things we were talking about are in the video description and will be in the audio show notes of the audio version of the podcast. So you can go check these things out for yourself in case you were like Morgan and we're not inside the dome on Saturday. We also got a little bit of a look at the new Supergirl that we will be getting in the form of Sasha Kaje. She was featured among some hyping up of DC stuff, so we got to see her as herself, the actress Sasha Kaje. But they also showed a Flash movie sneak peek. Ezra Miller explained that they didn't have enough material yet for a trailer, so they just kind of threw some stuff together, and that's kind of what it looked like. But
Here's a scene.
but we did get some first looks at the Flash movie, and there were a couple of shots with what looked like Sasha Kaje's Supergirl. So this first one that we're going to look at, I think, is the Flash looking at Supergirl. Maybe, I don't know. It looks like it's either her suit or she's standing up. So I don't know what it is, but it looks sort of like a blue arm. So I'm assuming that's her suit. So I'm not really sure. So I put that in there. I think that's maybe a Supergirl he is looking at. Then we also got Sasha Kaje and Ezra Miller in a scene together. So it looks like Barry is sort of leaning over her. She's lying down for some reason. I don't know what's happening in this scene.
What's going on?
I don't know. But she is somewhere. I don't know if she's in Wayne Manor or something. I don't know what's going on. Because I don't know if you've heard Morgan, but Batman, multiple Batmen are in this movie. So I'm
yeah, of course, in the Flash movie, that makes sense.
I'm just assuming that this might be Wayne Manor because it looks like a fancy place. But in this third shot here, we get Sasha Kaje in the Supergirl suit, although we only see the top half. And I'm kind of bitter because they didn't release like an official costume picture of her. And I really wish they had put something out before they showed this, because it's so dark you can't see anything.
I thought she was just in another Flash costume, Rebecca. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, oh, are they all just being the Flash right now?
That would be awesome.
Twist.
I would be into that, but it does look like her S shield there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I think that's a good assumption though, because we do see two Barrys, so that seems to signify multiverse. So that's very interesting. So I don't know what Earth we're on when we are in this scene with the two Barrys and Supergirl of some kind. We don't know much about her, but we did get our first kind of looks at Sasha Kaje. So I'm now going to be able to look at these things. I wanted to wait for official stuff, but we still don't have a really great look at like an official look at her costume, which is what I wish we could get. But I guess we'll just take it as it goes.
It's gonna be great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
or she's another Flash. We'll find out.
I mean, honestly, I would take either one. I could be into it.
I'll take whatever Supergirl you're gonna throw at me. It's fine. It's fine. We've made it through so much other stuff.
Yeah,
we made it out of that dome. You're fine.
That's not even a struggle for me. Okay, and so one of the last things that we'll talk about before we get to the CW Supergirl, so we'll save that for last. But something I think we should also talk about that I think is very important. That really it's something to really dig into. We got another look at DC League of Super Pets. As very important. And this time around, we didn't just get to hang out with Crypto, voiced by The Rock. We got to see a little bit of Ace, who is also referred to in DC Comics as Ace the Bat Hound. He is Batman's dog. Traditionally, I don't know if he is going to have the Batman connection or not here in this animated film, but we did get to spend time with Ace, who is voiced by Kevin Hart. We didn't get to learn what other characters are going to be in this film just yet, but we did see two onlookers, two other animals looking at Ace while he, I guess, relieves himself on a fountain in a park. So this is the real high class quality entertainment we're going to be getting from DC League of Super Pets.
I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be real highbrow humor. It's going to be like a real thinker, like a real you're going to go on like a existential quest with them. What is the nature of life? Is going to be involved in this in some way, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be real cerebral.
Mm-hmm.
You're You're really gonna have
We're
to.
gonna have a long discussion about it. We're gonna get like really into like we're gonna be bringing up like literary references. Like I think that shot was classic Hitchcock is something we're gonna say as we talk about the film.
So that's very exciting. We get more DC League of Super Pets. I'm still like, there's got to be a streaky reveal at some point. I
I'm
feel
still
like it's
holding out for
coming.
Streaky. It's coming. We gotta hope. We gotta hope. We gotta
I mean,
hold out hope.
I'm not crossing my fingers for Comet. That would be awesome, but I have a feeling Comet's not a thing that's gonna happen because that would just make me too happy. But I think we can get Streaky. I think Streaky's a possibility. So maybe one day we'll see that. All right. So just to hit the high notes on the Supergirl farewell tribute is what they called it, a farewell tribute to Supergirl. So this featured the entire cast of season 6 and then some. We had
Plus.
This featured Melissa Benoist, Kyler Lee, David Harewood, Chris Wood, Makad Brooks, Jeremy Jordan, Katie McGrath, Jesse Rath, Nicole Maines, Ozzy Tesfaye, Stas Nair, Julie Gonzalo, and Peta Sargent. So before they got into the actual cast discussion, because they were just kind of all sitting around talking about things and reminiscing, the video actually showed some behind the scenes footage of things that I don't think we've seen yet. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Morgan. So we saw Lex Luthor with his gauntlets, which I think he's in Catco.
It looks like it. I mean, there's only like one office in all of National City, so Catco seems like a good bet.
Yeah, so I don't think we've seen that as of yet. There was also what looked like a scene of Supergirl and Brainy and Lena Witchy Luthor maybe casting a spell of some kind in the tower.
You can tell she's doing witch stuff because her hair is crimped and it's curly and it's free. It's free like the witch powers inside of her.
So it must be very important. Brainy's wearing his purple super suit. So something must be very important in that moment. So, and then we get sort of a reverse of that, looking at Brainy from, I guess, more so Lena's point of view. So there's that. And then Brainy also, it's worth noting, he has the 3 sort of like Brainiac dots on his forehead, which he doesn't typically have. So that's very interesting. So, and also it gives a little like COVID behind the scenes look at what the what the
clear plastic shield on over top.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting just from behind the scenes point of view. The first thing they talked about was how has Supergirl impacted your life? And I think maybe, Morgan, we should adapt some of these questions to our end of the show review to get real deep and
really
sentimental.
get in there.
Yeah. So we might say,
are you ready to cry, Rebecca?
We are really going to get emotional about it. So the question was posed to the cast: how has Supergirl impacted your life? Melissa said that it changed her life, obviously, and that it's been a joy to see how the mythology affects people, young girls, and the people who look up to the characters. And she also called it very meaningful. David talked about how he went home with a pile of Martian Manhunter comics to read because he was excited to play a brand new character after only being initially cast as Hank Henshaw. And David also talked about how he enjoyed meeting everyone on the show and getting the chance to direct episodes, because he definitely did that, and they were very good. So the next one that they sort of talked about was their favorite moments. And Jesse Rath actually talked about the scene between Melissa Benoist's Kara and Stas Nair's William singing Africa on the show, doing a little karaoke. So I think that's a great scene to choose from the show if you were talking about favorite
always
moments.
A classic whenever we get some karaoke.
Yeah. So that's what he talked about during that. Melissa talked about her favorite episode, which I believe was Supergirl Lives. She talked about it being Kevin Smith's first episode to direct and how he ordered a bunch of bacon trucks for meals. I guess
I feel like it was her favorite episode because of the bacon trucks.
Well, this must have been before. I don't think Kevin Smith had his heart attack or whatever it was by this point. It must have been before that, because I don't think he would have ordered bacon trucks after his near-death experience. And she talked about how it was pouring rain in that episode. And Melissa and Kyler mentioned the Maldorians, the aliens from that episode. Do you remember Joe the alien? Do you remember us talking about Joe the Alien?
Vaguely. It's funny. She was talking about that episode, and I thought, "Ooh, I have to rewatch that one." I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah, I remember Joe the Alien because we were sort of hoping he would be kind of like another Brian the Alien, and he came for one episode and kind of left.
We were
And it
always
was
hoping for the best for like recurring characters that never really panned out. We'll never know about it, Pam from HR. We'll just never know.
So it's nice to know though that Melissa enjoyed the Maldorians as well. They seem to have a good fun laugh about that. The next thing they talked about was the wildest scene or stunt, and Chris Wood talked about how he messed up his job by having to eat 10 pancakes at once. Must be a tough life. Melissa also talked about how her uncomfortable wire work during flight scenes with Tyler Hoechlin in season 2. And Ozzy and McCod talked about being carried by Supergirl. So a lot of discussion of the flight stunts and things like that. It definitely does seem very uncomfortable. So I don't envy that at all. You get to fly, but then you also have to be on a wire, and that's
it's probably less fun. I honestly forgot about that gag with Mon-El eating all those pancakes until they like showed the clip of it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's rough. That's gonna be a rough stunt. I like how he considered that a stunt. Like that was hard work.
Well, I mean,
had all those pancakes down. I'm like,
I mean, I guess it kind of is, but I can see how that would mess up your jaw. That would not be so fun. So they also talked about some funny moments. Jeremy Jordan explained cloth magic. I don't know if you, Morgan, if you
this
remember.
Was the highlight of the whole clip package for me, at least.
So explain cloth magic to people who didn't watch it.
So apparently cloth magic was like a bit they had on set where they would put up their cape, and then when they took down their cape, something weird would be happening behind the cape. So like they would put up their Melissa Benoist would put up her cape, and then she'd put it down, and like somebody would pop up from behind making like a weird face, or somebody would like be doing something strange in the background. And like I really liked, because the rest of it was kind of like, what's your favorite moment? And then they were like, here's like a weird thing that we all did on the set, and like here's a video of us doing it, and it was really funny. Like you could tell that they were just like having a good time.
Yeah, I definitely want to try a cloth magic for sure. Also, for funniest moment, Peter Sargent talked about how funny Matt Barham, who plays Mitch, is. He does seem like a funny guy. Jesse also talked about how David Harewood would forget a line when he was directing. So that was pretty well delivered. Jesse talking about how that would go down. So definitely watch that if you haven't.
I liked him also talking about like how like intense David Harewood would get when he was directing. He would be like, okay,
lots of energy.
This is what's happening. Lots of energy. And then it would like just ground to a halt, and he'd be like, line. Like the impression that Jesse Ratt did was so funny. Like you could definitely see from like David Harewood, if you like watch like interviews with him, he does seem to like be a high energy, kind of intense person. Like the idea of him like, all right, everybody come in with a lot of energy. Wait, what's my line?
So that was a pretty fun story. They also talked about favorite fan interactions. Katie talked about getting a lot of letters from young girls who are interested in science because as we were reminded this week, Lena Luthor knows some things about science. I think we forgot about that a little bit because she's
been busy
so into magic.
Sniffing branches and looking at her grimoire. So
So science is a big deal for Lena Luthor. Melissa also told the story of a little girl, and this was really cute. And I'm not going to do the impression of it because you have to watch Melissa tell it. But she told the story of a little girl who wanted to know if her belt as Supergirl was attached to her skirt or to her shirt. The answer, if you're curious, the belt was not attached to anything. It was essentially a taped on belt. So that was a really cute story because she basically did the impression of the little girl, and it sounded just like a little kid would be asking the question.
It was so cute. And the Lena story I thought was really interesting, the Katie McGraw story, because it reminded me of like what they call, I think it was in like the 90s, what they called like the Scully bump, which is that like when X-Files was on and Scully was like in that show, there was like a huge bump in like applications to like women applying to like STEM programs and the FBI and all of that because they saw Scully do it and they were like, that's so cool. Like, she can do it. I can do it. So I like the idea that there's like somewhere out there's a small Lena Luthor bump. and I have to imagine that there's going to be a similar bump in Witches now. Just people being like, if Lena Luthor can make that poultice, I can make that poultice.
Well, that is the Katie McGraw effect, I guess. Kyler talked, she brought up a story about San Diego Comic-Con of a family of 2 daughters, one who was the biological daughter and the other one who was adopted, and brought up the parallels and connections to the Danvers sisters, which seemed like a sweet story. And Nicole and Melissa talked about kids who think they're real life superheroes. So that is a tough thing to do with children. I've seen cosplayers have to deal with that. So kids are really sharp and they pay attention. So that was something that was interesting to hear them talk about. And the last thing they talked about, because this got a little sentimental, I think, the question was, what will you miss most? And so Julie Gonzalo talked about how she was going to miss the people and the collaboration on set. And Makad Brooks talked about how, from his experience, having been gone since the beginning of season 5, it's going to, hit him months after the show ends, and realizing that it won't happen again is going to hit him. And David Harewood referred to the cast and crew as a family that supported each other. And Melissa thinks that she'll miss playing a superhero eventually because, she's got a little one right now, which I'm sure takes up a lot of her energy and time. So eventually it's going to hit her that she won't be playing a superhero anymore. So that was kind of the rundown of the most Supergirl aspects of DC fandom. So if you missed any of those things, I was surprised. They live streamed the entire thing to lots of different YouTube channels, and then they kept them around. Last year, they only put a few things on YouTube, and so this time around, they were just like, here, have it all. Just
what if in case you didn't have time to enter into the dome, what if we just put it up so that you could watch it kind of like when your schedule
whenever.
Like I came home later that night and I was like, well, I'm not in the dome, but the dome is still available to me. Amazing.
So that was actually kind of shocking, but it was nice to see that they made all of that available for people who may have missed it. All right, well, let's get to talking about this week's episode of Supergirl, titled National City. And here is the official description. Quote, Kara lands her dream story for Catco, but when the city is suddenly attacked by a nightmare monster at the same time as her interview, she is forced to take a serious look at her life and decide if she can continue to live as both Kara and Supergirl. Okay. As Dreamer takes the lead on the search for the Dream Totem, which can vanquish they nightmare. That's what it that's
Veronica.
That's what it says in the description. I checked this description on multiple sites, multiple websites, multiple outlets to see if anybody else instead of saying the nightmare monster, it says they nightmare. I'm reading it as Veronica wrote it. She did not proofread her work this week.
But she started out so strong with that dream pun. She's like, Kara lands a dream story, but then there's a nightmare monster. And like Veronica was doing it. She was telling a story. She was using metaphor to like really bring us in, to draw us in. She was honestly telling a story that maybe wasn't even told on the episode about how Kara was really having to take a good look at her life. And then a typo, Veronica.
It's so really disappointing. Which can vanquish they nightmare monster in National City. She realizes she needs to ask her sister Maeve, guest star Hannah James, for help. Old wounds, and am I spelling Maeve wrong? Is that how you spell Maeve?
I don't think so. I don't think that there's a U in there. That's
Veronica.
That looks like mauve.
Veronica, come on
Veronica. Now. You know what? Everybody's just phoning it in at this point on the show.
It's episode 16. This show's over in a few episodes. It doesn't really matter anymore.
Veronica's like, I'm never getting that promotion. They nightmare.
You're just going to get what I write down. And then the description ends. Old wounds resurface as the two sisters come face to face, unquote. All right, so one of the big things that came out of this episode was Kara quitting her job at Catco, which is now the second time that Kara has quit her job at Catco. The first time being the beginning of season 3 in Girl of Steel, when she's just leaning into her Supergirl side. She doesn't want to have anything to do with Kara Danvers because Kara Danvers sucks right now because Kara Danvers just lost the love of her life and she doesn't want anything to do with Kara. So she just leans into Supergirl. And so that's why she quits Catco in season 3, is that she doesn't think the Catco thing is important anymore. And now she quits Catco again. Because she can't keep an appointment, I guess. So, Morgan, what do you think about this development that she decides that right now Kara Danvers wants to just be Supergirl?
I hated it. Thanks. Watching this episode, I was like, what is happening? In a lot of different areas, but specifically here in like this story, why this close to the end of the show would you make Kara quit her job? And it would be one thing if like her job was just like a front that she kept up or something that she wasn't that excited about. But you spent like an entire season telling us about how the press is so great, right? And that how important the press is, and like the press will, is going to take down Lex.
The fourth estate is going to save the day.
Don't worry, it's the fourth estate here to save the day. And Kara gets a Pulitzer. Maybe she doesn't have it now. Maybe she does. We'll never know, really. But like they kind of then made it a big deal for her. Like she is a good reporter. Her friend in the jail said she was the best he's ever read. He read a lot of newspapers. When she shows up, she shows up. And then to just have her quit, to me, felt so weird. And it did feel like it was kind of out of nowhere. There hasn't really been a lead up to this. They're just like, I don't know if they're just going to drop this important aspect of her character like 4 or 5 episodes from the end, or
that she's had the whole show.
Or if they're planning on bringing it back in some way. We don't have a lot of episodes for that, is the thing. And I'm getting hot. It's okay. We're good. The problem is that they keep doing this kind of stuff as if they've got like another season to go. Like all the storylines that they're kind of, with the exception of the Dreamer stuff, which again has been really consistently good this season. It feels like the only story they can tell in an arc that makes sense. That aside, that stuff's been great. Everything else is like, why would you wait until this far to start telling this story? Why would you wait until this far to be like, our scientist, what if she was also a witch? What if she wasn't? Like they waited this far to like make Kelly Guardian. Why? Like we're so close to the end. They waited this far to finally have Alex remember she wanted to adopt and then just have like a child fall into her lap. Okay. It's just they've like, I'm assuming that, I don't know, maybe Kelly and Alex are going to get married. Maybe they won't, but like, I'm assuming that'll happen in about 30 seconds off screen at this rate. It's mind boggling why they're starting all these like new storylines with like so little ramp to tell them. Like there's not that much room to tell a Lena witch storyline, so why start it now? Like she's got other stuff, you can just resolve that stuff. Like no, like believe me, she's gonna sniff some branches. Everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Her hair is gonna get so free. And it felt and this one felt a lot like that. And I don't think it helped that like it seemed like the main portion of her decision about making that choice was with William. God love William. He can bake. Boy can bake. He can write stories. He can do all kinds of like, hey, yeah. He's great.
He did an accent this week.
He can really, he's got it all. He's a Renaissance man. But I feel like it would hit a little bit harder if she was having that conversation with like literally anyone else on the cast. I think it would feel like a more serious discussion if she had it with Alex, for one. Alex, you remember that they're sisters and stuff. Or Lena, like her best friend, or Jean, who's kind of like her space dad. Literally anyone. But instead they give that like the Kara, scene where she's deciding to quit her job that's been very important to Kara and William. So it didn't feel like it hit me that hard. And then I was like, oh, is she really quitting? I have to be honest. I thought she was going to get fired.
See, that would make more sense.
Now, listen, I don't want her to get fired, but would that be satisfying to me, a person who jokes that she never shows up for work? Yes, it would have been hilarious. But and we see Andrea being like, all right, well, fourth time's the charm, isn't it? Like, what? Fire her. What kind of boss are you? But like, yeah, so I thought like, okay, well, Kara's chickens are coming home to roost. She never shows up to work. She blows off important interviews. Now she's going to get fired. She was like, Kara's like, you know what? These demands that you guys are making of me, showing up, doing this work, showing up to an interview when I told those interviewers I was going to be there, unreasonable. I'm going elsewhere. It was just, I don't know, man. I don't know what's happening on this show anymore, if I'm being honest.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with her unless they have something where she's going to be doing something else. I don't see why you would pull her off of being a reporter at Catco at this point.
Maybe in the beginning of the season, or like when she comes back from the Phantom Zone, she could be like, I really reevaluate it, and I think I really need to focus in on being Supergirl and goodbye Catco, or at the end of sometime last season, maybe even. I don't know when it would have made sense for her to like give up her dream job. I'm just spitballing, but 4 episodes before the end is not the appropriate time for a big change like that for a character. It seems crazy.
Well, and looking back, I rewatched that scene where she quits with I was gonna say Makad, with James in season 3 and the Girl of Steel episode, the season 3 premiere. You can obviously sense, or at least I could. I don't want to speak for everybody.
Yeah.
But in that scene, I could infer that this is a bad decision that Kara is making. Her quitting Catco, she's not supposed to do this. She's, acting irrationally. This is a bad decision that she's making. She shouldn't be doing this. Here, it's like, well, okay, well, I guess she's quitting because she can't do both things, even though I kind of thought we sort of went through this in season 3 when the whole season was about her identity and being both Supergirl and Kara Danvers. But now we're doing this again. So I don't really, I don't understand what they're doing either. It seems very strange. So I guess I'm not going to get what I would have done with Kara by the end of the show and make her the new Cat Grant. That's what I would have done. I don't think that's going to happen.
She could just not show up whenever she wants. She's the
yeah,
boss.
She could go hang out in a yurt for as long as she wanted to. Nobody would care. But I mean, that's what I would have done with Kara in her end game on the show. But I guess that's not happening. I did like that she got called out on it, though.
Yeah, like what a weird time though to like underline that she's just been like blowing off her job for years at a time. It's just like, I thought that was just the reality of the show that we lived in, and we made fun of it, but like it wasn't a big deal. But now Andrea's like, yeah, no, you're never here, and that is annoying. And you do go off for months at a time and tell me you're going to have a story, and then you just don't have a story. Feels like when you got back from the Phantom Zone, maybe you could have made up at least some story to bring in, but that's okay. It's okay. I forgive you because of that Pulitzer you may or may not have.
And I was trying to figure out, is it, and everything with Kara and journalism is unethical, but so just to clarify what I was watching. So as I understood it, Kara was going to be interviewing the heads of state from Casnia and Corto Maltese, the 2 countries that those are the 2 countries in the previous episode. She took their nuclear arms and threw them into the sun. Is that correct?
Yes,
so she destroyed their weapons, and then she was going to interview them about it. So that
I mean,
that seemed a little questionable to me.
the thing about the journalistic ethics on any super, really, like Superman, Supergirl,
It would be weird if Superman did it. No, yeah.
is you just have to kind of go, that's not right, and then just sweep it away. Just sweep it away. Let it leave you. Let it go down the current, and just stop thinking about it. Because if you think about the fact that she writes a lot about like what happens with Supergirl, and she is Supergirl,
Yeah.
it gets problematic real fast. So
Yeah. So it may be the case that William suggests with the cat grant advice that maybe right now, just for right now, she's got to be Supergirl. So maybe she'll come back and be Kara Danvers, and maybe she'll get that Catco job back. But at this point, I'm like, just don't go back to Catco. At this point, you've quit your job at Catco twice now throughout the run of the series.
you clearly don't like it there.
Don't go back to Catco. Do something else. So at this point, I think I'd rather Kara just do something else. I would love it. This is never going to happen, but I would love it if she went to do camera operation at a local news station like she does in around the 70s and 80s era of Supergirl comics. That's never going to happen because I've never picked up a Supergirl comic, but that's what I would have her do.
What if she's doing a local theater production? Okay, I'm pitching out. She's doing a local theater production.
I like where you're going.
Clearly there's 4 episodes left, so we have time for this. We have time.
We've got time to establish that she has an interest
in
acting.
Play episode, like the Shakespeare episode. And there's a talent scout in the audience, and he's like, who is she? Sacre bleu. And he's French. And so then she becomes a soap opera actress. What if that was her new career?
I just
pitching things out.
I just wish that would happen. I don't care if it happened in one scene and we saw the rest of it off screen. I would be fine with that. But yeah, so that at this point, I kind of would rather her just do something else because I just don't think the Catco thing is working out.
Doesn't feel like it's a good fit for her.
So I am interested in your opinion, Morgan, on this because for around 6 years, this really hasn't come up very much. But all of a sudden, the Super Friends are really concerned about the public's perception of them and the negative press.
For a long time. They were like, "Oh, are the public saying something? That's cute." And now they're like, "Oh my God, what if they don't like us?" Did you read that tweet? Alice, don't read that tweet about your hair.
Don't read the comments.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Why do they care now?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's really, it could have been really interesting if they had done this through the whole show because the interaction between the governor was really interesting to me because the governor should be telling them what to do, I feel like, than the other way around.
I like that they feel like they're above all forms of laws, right? All forms of laws and like local, state, national government. They're like, excuse me, governor, it's cute that you think that you have a say. But I think that the bubble enhances your state. And I think you should thank us. Like, I understand that they need it to like stop the nightmare monster from getting to the nuclear plant. But on the other hand, we did okay. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna get dark, and I hope we're all ready for it.
Go for it.
Because I'm sure Anna has gotten there already. Don't worry, we haven't made it to the snap judgments, but she has. We saw that bubble cut a food truck in half.
Yeah.
How are they guaranteeing that there was no human being where that bubble was? Is there a couple of people who got cut in half, maybe?
I'm sure people died.
People got cut in half.
There was
100%.
Giant nightmare monster who would go invisible. So probably people got stepped on or hurt. And somebody probably got chopped in half because of the dome.
One sad food truck, a couple sad people.
I just thought it was funny that the Super Friends seemed really agitated that the governor was like upset about it.
How dare she?
And I was like, the governor has people trapped in a dome that she can't control. What do you want her to do?
Isn't this like the exact plot of like a Stephen King book?
We will get to that.
Called Under the Dome.
we have a listener who wrote in about that. I'm also a little agitated from a comic book perspective that they didn't do this before because there's a whole storyline in the comics that I haven't read it in a while, but it's called New Krypton, and Supergirl is part of it. And basically, the premise of it is that I think it's the bottle city of Kandor, or a bottled city that is like enlarged. And so there is a new Krypton that gets formed. And I kind of wish they had done some sort of, we have Brainiac 5 on the show. It would have been, if they had the capacity for dome effects, why didn't they do like some kind of new Krypton bottle city thing? I was like, that's another, chalk that up on a list of missed opportunities from the show. But I kind of wish they had done that.
I think every time that they decide to like focus on a different thing that they've never focused on before, it opens up like a real can of worms situation, like a real Pandora's box, where then I think I talked about this the last time, and I guess I'm probably going to continue to talk about it forever. But the thing is to not underline why things work the way they work on this show. If you're just like, listen, she never shows up at work, she looks exactly the same with her glasses on and off, she's Supergirl. I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
I
sure.
love it.
Yeah,
I
go
love
for
this
it.
journey. I'm taking this journey with you. Her friend's a witch. Why not? Why not? Nothing matters. But if you start underlining things like, oh, hey, now they care about the public perception. Now I have to go, why didn't they all along? Right? So now I'm questioning things about the reality of the show that you have set up where they don't care about public opinion. But now that they do care about public opinion, now I have to think, why didn't they before? That opens up a whole can of like consistency about the show. I know the answer, why didn't they before, is because the writers never considered it and no one cared. And now they do, because they're like, let's really dig into this. No, it goes against what you set up in your world. You can't have it. I just want to go into that writer's room and just slap some hands and say, no, you can't have it.
But Morgan, as Anthony reminds us, it's all about power.
Power.
We're really digging into the theme at this point.
At this point, yeah, 4 episodes from the end. But but it's the same thing with like the governor. They have done some truly insane things, and never once has the governor been like, hey, don't shoot some toxins into our atmosphere. We don't know what that's going to do to people. Maybe don't do it. There's shh, don't, it doesn't matter. But now they put up one measly bubble and suddenly it's like, I'm calling in the National Guard. Well, why didn't you for any of those other emergencies? What have you been doing? And again, now I need to question the whole reality of the show as a whole as they've set it up. And it's like, close the box. Close the box back.
And why didn't we hear about wouldn't the mayor be more important in this scenario with your,
one would think,
your local government taking issue with the dome?
Why the governor? This is the first time we've seen that governor.
I guess the governor was important because of the National Guard, maybe? Is that...
I just couldn't get over the governor's haircut. It was very unfortunate. It was all I could focus on.
Well,
I was like,
the governor's
honey.
She's got a lot going on.
There's so much going on.
She really can't focus on her hairstyle.
She was like, you know what? I'm so busy. Just give me a bowl. I got it.
Just whatever you're gonna do, just do it. Yeah, so there was a lot of discussion about who was the more powerful entity in this episode. So it is kind of weird that all of a sudden the Super Friends care about the public opinion of them.
Like, I guess you could kind of say, well, before they worked for the DEO and somehow that made them like immune to all criticism. But I don't buy that because like Supergirl wasn't like undercover somewhere. She wasn't doing black ops in National City. She wasn't like painted camouflage, like coming out of a shadow, right? She was in a giant costume flying through the air. She's always been a public figure. One would assume there's always been a certain amount of public criticism that goes along with it. And like, it's only now that she really cares.
Yeah, and she issued an apology on the TV, I guess.
Sorry about that dome.
So we did get something of a Supergirl hope speech, but it was more so just hey, this is on me, guys. I'm just really sorry about what's gone down. So there is that. So Supergirl did have some airtime with whatever Catco does.
Nicole has a great question here in the chat. How does the governor know to call the tower? Is there a Super Friends hotline?
That is a great question.
Great question. We'll probably never know, but it is a great question.
I guess they called the governor and said, "Here, put us on your speed dial. Put us in your phone. Put us in a list." So I guess they just became friends with the governor and swapped digits. That's the only thing I can think of. But that is a great question because they were all talking to her. Jean was, Alex was.
Emma asks, why wasn't Alex in disguise when talking to the governor? I guess it's cool that the governor knows that Alex is sensible.
Or maybe she just knows her as Alex Danvers. Maybe that doesn't
Yeah, maybe
matter.
she's just like, "Ugh, if there's a dome in this city, I know Alex Danvers is involved somehow."
That's really going to narrow things down for the governor when she thinks about the Super Friends. Yeah, now I kind of want more information about their working relationship with like government officials.
Yeah.
Like, how does this work? So we'll never get that because we only have a couple of episodes left. But
Like before, when there was a DEO, I understood. Yes, like the DEO is, kind of rubber stamping all these crazy things, and it's like, yeah, they're a government agency somehow, and we saw, was it Corporal or General or Haley?
Colonel Haley.
Colonel. I was gonna go through every single one of them until I got it, but we saw her like come in and be like, "All right, you guys are, not responsible, and I'm taking over." So like we've seen stuff like that with them interacting with different governments before. We saw it with
President Wonder Woman.
President Wonder Woman. Then there was the person who replaced President Wonder Woman, who was kind of a jerk. I think
that was not Plastino. It was another guy.
I don't remember.
Baker, maybe President.
Yeah, President Baker.
And maybe
she had some like dusts up with him, and like, so we've seen them before, but it felt very out of place in this episode. Like we haven't thought about the local government in quite some time, unless we're trying to save a building.
That's the only.
Then it's
then we really get into the nitty gritty with the city council.
You were getting into the city council. What did the city council think about the dome is what I want to know.
You would think they would be having meetings about this.
Should be like a Parks and Rec meeting where there's like the open citizen like corner where they can all like come up and like say their piece.
What if part of the city council was meeting inside the dome and the other half was meeting outside the dome and they were talking to each other from the dome?
One of my absolute favorite lines in the whole episode was when they're talking about the dome and William is talking and Kara talking about the dome. And William is like, parents were separated from their children. I was like, oh yeah, that's serious. That's really serious. He's like, employees couldn't get to work. And I was like, yeah, who cares?
I'd be like, I have a really great excuse. Can I work from home today?
Some days it snows and I can't get to work. It's less of a big deal than a bubble. I think that the company can move on for one day. I was just like such a weird like those things aren't on the same.
Some people can't work from home.
Yeah, so exactly. Like some people can't work from home, and there are some essential functions, but it wasn't quite on the same level as I thought it was going to be. Like like one of the hospitals is in that bubble, or there's no hospital in that bubble, or something like that. But it was like, and some people can't go to work. Kara, have you thought about that? And I was like, yeah, it sounds great for them.
Yeah, that they could have made it a little more emergent.
They got a dome day.
They could have made it more of an emergency. But yeah, so that's I guess maybe something it feels like, because they've been sort of touching on this public perception thing for the last couple of episodes. So I wonder if that's going to play into the finale of it all. So I guess we'll just have to keep monitoring that.
I feel like the story that they're trying to like weirdly tell is like this idea of like the Super Friends are kind of their own just thing out there, like vigilantes with no accountability to anybody. And is that a problem? But they're not telling it well. So it's kind of weird. It's like, oh, you're picking this thread back up again. I guess we're caring about this, and then like next week we're just not going to care about it at all again.
Yeah. Leslie says the Super Friends are vigilantes and good Samaritans doing whatever they want with no accountability. So yeah, that is kind of the same sentiment that you were going for, Morgan. So I guess we will have to see what will the public change their perception? Will they win the public over? I guess
Will the
we'll
hope
have to
speech
see.
do it this time? Will the apology and like, I know you've put your hope in me, and I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that I threw it into the sun last week.
Can't take it back though. It's definitely destroyed. It is definitely burned up.
Didn't it seem like at the end of last week, and I promise I'll get off this, but didn't it seem like she was like, well, don't worry, like we'll give them hope, and like there was going to be some plan about how to give everybody hope back, and then this week she's like, I quit. Maybe she lost her own hope.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe Supergirl
herself.
lost hope. So
maybe if that's what they were getting at, they sure didn't tell us in any way.
They should have elaborated that this is what was happening.
More context would have been great.
Yeah. So I'm just going on the assumption that Supergirl destroyed the hope totem and it took away her hope somehow. I don't know how that works.
And she was just like, I quit.
So speaking of totems, we're continuing the search for the totems for some reason, even though we chucked one of them into the sun and destroyed it, and now Nixley can't complete the Allstone. So before we get into the Dreamer and the Maeve stuff, why do you think this search for the totems is continuing?
I don't know, if I'm being honest. And maybe I could have paid closer attention to the episode. I was trying. In my defense, I was trying really hard. But I feel like they explained it, but it wasn't an explanation that made any sense to me. And so my brain just tried to wrap around it and couldn't and just gave up. Was it something about like she can use the power of the dream totem somehow?
Yeah, I think somebody says that Nixley, I can't remember if Jean was talking about it, but they say that Nixley can use the power of the dream totem and she would be unstoppable. And it was kind of funny because it's like, well, that seems right given what we know about Dreamer's powers, that she can pretty much do anything. So
I love when her sister was even like, how are you doing this? She was like, what?
Yeah, so I guess Nixley can still use the totems to do things, but it just seemed like they set up the whole season as we've got to prevent the Allstone from being created.
Like we got to get all the pieces of the Rubik's Cube and we have to put it together and we have to turn all the sides. And then I will have all the power. And like the Super Friends were like, we're going to take a piece of the Rubik's Cube, arguably the piece most associated with the main character of the show, and throw it into the sun. And now you can't create the Rubik's Cube. And she was like, joke's on you. I'm just going to still keep doing it. Why?
So what was the point of destroying the hope totem? I
don't know, Rebecca. I don't know anymore.
I honestly, I don't know. I guess I can understand they can still do things with the individual totems, even if she can't create the Allstone. But I was just so confused because at the end of the episode, Lena says that she and Brainy refortified the hiding place for the Courage and Humanity totem, so that even if Nixley does have the dream totem now, she won't be able to create the Allstone. But she can't create the Allstone anyway without the hope totem. So I don't know why it still matters.
Yeah, I had to rewind that scene where like Lena came in and was like, the exposition. And I was like, wait, what? And I rewound it and I was like, I don't understand anything anymore. I gotta be honest. Like, I thought I was a smart person, but I cannot follow this Supergirl storyline in any way because like early on they're like, they explain, oh, the dream totem is really important because of some reason, some plot thing, and in like a really just big chunk of exposition. I was like, wait, what? And then they go get the dream totem, and then later on it's like, well, don't worry, we hid these two other totems, so even though she has the dream totem, she can't get these other totems. And I was like, why do you care? Who cares if she has the dream totem? I guess Dreamer probably cares because that's like her ancestral totem.
Yeah, it's a big deal for the
I understand
why
Dreamer cares. I understand where like Maeve cares. I don't understand why anyone
Mauve.
else. Mauve. I understand where Mauve cares. I don't understand understand why anyone else cares. I just can't follow it, Rebecca. I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. And I was a little disappointed that Dreamer's whole thing is the dream totem.
Of
And
course
she
it is.
and she failed to get it. It's like you had one job, Nia.
Oh, Nia.
You just had that
All those
one thing you were
powers, and
supposed
she
to
couldn't
do.
even get that totem.
So I guess we're still going with the totems here, even though I don't understand completely why that's happening. But speaking of the dream totem, there was a reconnection that happened, and a character who hadn't been seen in 2 seasons showed back up this week. So Morgan, what did you think about Nia reconnecting with Maeve?
I thought this was the only redeemable part of the episode. If I have to be, it was like a Nia storyline and that cute little bun that Lena had on her hair.
The bun and Esme's drawings of all the Super Friends.
Yes, and the drawings of the Super Friends. Those are the 3 reasons why this episode is allowed to exist. And also, I have like a whole theory about Lena's bun that I will remind me to get into later.
Well, why don't we just
Let's just do it.
Do it now.
Let's do it.
Do we want to do a Boardroom or Ballroom?
I think we do.
Do we need to work that into
I think
Boardroom?
so.
All right, let's get into it.
And now, Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom?
Okay, Lena's bun. Go.
So first off, her bun look flawless. Flawless. I was like, oof, girl, you are serving me some look. But then I noticed, like later on in the episode, she's got like a weird like brooch and her hair is all curly again and she's doing magic. And I was like, interesting. When she had that bun, what was she doing? Science. She was doing science.
Oh, yes.
So like Lena, like pulled together Lena with her bun, her power science bun. That's how you can tell she's doing science. But when her hair gets free, like the wind, like the bark of the trees that she must sniff, that's when Lena is doing magic. And now I'm so excited that I've learned this, that I've embraced this, because now I'm going to know if we're dealing with scientist Lena or witch Lena. I will now know which Lena we are dealing with at all times. Is her hair like down and flowing? Does she have a brooch that looks like a bat? That's witch Lena. Is she in a blazer? Is her hair pulled up? Does she kind of look like that lady from Theranos that sold all those fake blood kits? That's scientist Lena.
I think this is a great theory.
This is my theory.
This sort of holds with when she would be like evil Lena Luthor. She would have like usually the straight ponytails with the straight hair. And then if she was like friend Lena at game night, she had her hair down and she'd be wearing jeans. So like you kind of know what you're getting with Lena through her wardrobe and her hair.
I think Lena like really like tells how she's feeling. Her emotions come out through her hair. I think that's
very
like,
expressive.
She's like, when she's feeling witchy, the hair gets a little funky. It gets a little free. It's like excited. It's like it's out there. But when it's time to do science, she's pulling that back. She's putting on a little blazer. She's maybe doing like a simple bun, some like a little bit of a red lip, now she's ready to go. Now she's ready to do some science. And I appreciate that. Like I can always follow Lena's character arcs, right? Because I can see them. And I love that about her. And that's why I love her so.
And this has been
Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom.
Okay, we got a little sidetracked. But
but I don't remember what I was originally talking about.
Nia and Maeve, though. Somehow that got us into Lena's hair. But
Makes perfect sense.
Nia and Maeve.
I really like this storyline. I know we have been talking about, Nia's storyline with her sister for a while, wondering if they were ever going to come back to it. It felt very unresolved. And I'm glad that they did come back to it. I thought that was really strong. And it's also, again, I don't understand why they can only seem to write Nia in a consistent, logical fashion on the show. I'm not complaining. She's had a great storyline all season that has logically progressed and has made sense and has been emotional and has been tied to things we know about the character. Just wish other characters could have the same thing. Poor Alex Danvers is in a corner just crying, like literally crying, looking at Nia's storyline. But I liked that, we've spent an entire season with her as she's like really had a lot of doubts about, I don't know enough about my powers. I'll never know all the things that my mom knew. She never trained me. I don't know all these things. And then kind of coming into having made that decision with Nixley to see her mom one last time and kind of learn from her mom, even though her mom was kind of mean to her, honestly. You get one day with your dead mom and she's like, "Oh, you really screwed it up, Nia." And
She did. That was pretty
"Geez,
awful.
Mom. Sorry, I wanted to spend some time with you in the afterlife." But I thought that her storyline, I think, has been really interesting in the way that you can kind of see a clear line and an arc where she she gets to spend that time with her mom, and now she feels like she understands her power. She's kind of come into her powers a little bit more, and so this is really, weirdly enough, the right time for her to have this resolution with Maeve. Not, if suddenly in this episode Nia was like, "I'm gonna be a circus performer," I wouldn't be surprised given this show, but this is not what they're doing, like they're doing with poor Lena. This is instead, they're like, this is kind of, seeing her story to its logical point. And so at this point, she feels more into her power. She's more confident about who she is as Dreamer. And it's a perfect point for her to kind of face the fears that she was having earlier this season, the fears that I don't know enough about this and I'm never going to get a hold of it. And those fears are kind of embodied by her sister. And it's not just the terrible thing that her sister said to her the last time that they had a fight, but it's also how she's always felt like her sister was the one who should have had these powers, and her sister was the one who was prepared to have them and deserved to have them. And I think it was great to see Nia go, "You know what? I'm sorry that you didn't get these powers, but I've really embraced it. I've really figured it out. I deserve these powers because I have them and I know how to use them." And to see that sort of evolution of that character getting to a confident place. And then at the end of the episode, even after Mauve, our good friend Mauve, was even after their touching reunion, when Maeve tried to steal the dream totem, I was like, girl,
Yeah,
I
that
swear
was not the
I will
right move.
slap you. What
Yeah.
are you doing? But at the end of the episode, when suddenly now that there's not a dream totem in the offing, she was like, "I'm really sorry." I liked that Nia was like, "Well, I'm not going to forgive you because you've done a series of really insane things that are messed up. But I think we can move forward and I'll give you a last chance." And I like that she was empathetic to her sister and understanding why her sister continues to be, kind of going crazy about the Dreamer stuff, but also was very strong and "It's not okay that you treated me this way. It's not okay that you said these things to me. You I'm sorry that you didn't get these dream powers, but it's not my fault and I'm doing a great job with it. And I'll let you in my life, but you're not getting a third chance. You're not going to try to steal a third thing from me, And I like that for Nia. I think that maybe last season she would have maybe cut her sister off entirely, or maybe she would have just forgiven her and not been so strong about defending herself. And I like that the sort of the balance that she struck, where it wasn't okay what Maeve did and what Maeve said. And I think that she acknowledged that, but she was willing to put it in the past and move on. It wasn't, "I don't forgive you because what you did was messed up, but we can move on from here and we'll still be sisters." And I thought that was a really good storyline. And I like where it fit in her story in this season and in her story overall since she's been on the show. I can give them, they really know how to write Dreamer. They write her very well and consistently. She always, especially in this
except
season.
for her power set.
Well, her power sets is crazy. Yeah. Her power set is whatever the plot needs it to be. And I will say
the character arc, I will agree.
The character arc is great. I will say that was probably one of my biggest laughs of the episode was when she does that thing where they shoot up in the air and Maeve goes "I didn't even know the dream powers could do this." And and I want Nia was "Yeah, they can do a lot of things you wouldn't even imagine."
I've stopped a tidal wave, Maeve. You didn't even see that one. That was pretty awesome. And also Maeve gave her the necklace that gave her more power. And I was like, oh my God.
I couldn't stop laughing. The other thing that made me laugh was that like the symbol, like their dream symbol, it's just like a lotus flower. Like I've seen that same necklace in like every craft fair I've ever gone to.
Do you think that symbolizes pure of heart, purity?
Maybe, but she's like, this is a symbol from our planet. I was like, yeah, and like every Oktoberfest I've ever gone to. Yeah, a lot of crafters come up with that same alien symbol. I was gonna call her Mauve again by accident. Maeve. I was like, really?
Now we're just tricking ourselves into saying Mauve.
It's like Kelly Guardian. But it's like you couldn't have really like come up with an alien looking symbol that you could have given them. It was just like whatever was at the bottom of your jewelry box.
I agree with you though about Nia, standing up for herself and kind of taking that stance of like, you've hurt me. I'm not backing down from this, because I appreciate that. Like I know what it's like to have had somebody say something nasty to you like that and have really, hurt you and be awful to you, and it sucks. And if I was confronted with someone who had done that to me, I would probably have a hard time. I'm usually trying to be a forgiving person, but there are a couple of people I can think of that I would be like, I don't know if we can be friends again. That's not something I don't know if I can do. So I can understand that hurt that Nia had. So I appreciated that she stood her ground, but she also, gave Maeve another chance, and maybe a final chance. So at least Maeve can try, if she's really honest and what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic about being sorry and wanting to make it up to Nia, then she'll have that chance. And what I really liked about their interaction is that they were kind of the fulfillment of what each other didn't have. So Nia, as Dreamer, she's got all these powers, but she doesn't really know how to use them. She's getting better, but she could probably use a little more book smarts about it. And that's where Maeve comes in. Maeve's read all the books. She's done all the studying. She knew all the stories. She knew all the history. And what I liked about their interaction is that they were a good team once they got into the dream realm. Aside from the whole thing about Maeve like trying to steal the dream tower.
It was not great.
That was not a great team
I was
effort.
like, girl,
at that
are you
point.
serious?
But it kind of made me wish we could see more of them as a team and like teaming up together to help each other, because I thought they did things for each other that they couldn't have done on their own. And so I actually really liked that. I don't know if Dreamer could have a sidekick or like a partner in crime or something, but I really kind of wish we had time, to your point, Morgan, from earlier, that we had more time to explore that, because I thought that was actually really cool to see the Null sisters doing those things together. And I would watch a whole like mini like a mini series of Nia and Maeve going on an adventure. I would watch that.
And I like that, like, Maeve had, to your point about, like, they kind of balanced each other out. Neo's like, I'm going to do this thing impulsively, or like, oh, your necklace is glowing, and could kind of figure out stuff based on context clues. And Maeve was like, according to this book, you haven't even read the Dreamscapes Bible, like blah, 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 blah. And it's like, Neo's like, no. It did make me laugh though, because it did seem like, not to be critical to Nia, I love Nia, but she's like spent like an entire season going like, I don't know my powers enough. And Maeve was like, did you think about a book?
Did you just go check a book out of the library?
I've got a lot of books, Nia. I've read a lot of books about this. You could have read one of them. And Nia's like, I'm just going to wing it. Love that energy for her.
Yeah, so I actually like the two of them teaming up. So I don't know if we'll see more of that in the future, but at least for Nia as a character, there's a resolution there that's happened before the end of the show. So I'm glad that has come to its, I guess, final conclusion, that the sisters are now on good terms. I wish the show had done more of a thematic thing here in this week's episode, because they have another set of sisters on the show, and they didn't do anything with them while they had the Null sisters doing something. So I wish they had made that a little more. To your point, I think if Alex had been the one to talk to Carr about the Catco thing, that would have been a nice tie-in to the sisters aspect of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, sisters aren't like a limited quantity kind of thing. It's not like if we have 2 sisters in an episode, we can't have another 2 sisters. Like, well, we've used up our sisters for this episode. I'm sorry, Alex and Cara, you must not be in a scene together. Like, yeah, I think it would have also like kind of underlined like the different kinds of sister relationships too. It would have really brought the Nia and Maeve kind of main story there into focus. If you're like watching Cara and Alex have like a very supportive, loving discussion, and then like you switch over to Nia and Maeve like snipping at each other about, well, you didn't read the book.
Yeah, that could have been a nice parallel there, or a
the show
contrast,
used to
I
do,
guess.
yeah, the show used to do stuff like that, like parallels and contrasts, but not anymore.
Not so much.
Not so much lately.
Quick question from Electro WWF. Do we think there would be a Dreamers spinoff next season, and that's why they spent so much time on Nia's story this season? I don't think we're going to get a full spinoff for Dreamer, because it seems like the CW is sort of backing off some of these shows a little bit. But I could definitely see Nia popping up on Legends or something or in another crossover or something.
I could, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if like the creative team of this show would love a Nia spinoff, because they do seem to.
They love writing for Nia.
They have all kinds of ideas for Nia. Many of them are good. Not all of them for Supergirl are good, but their Nia ideas are good. So
wait, they have ideas for Supergirl?
Not many, and they're almost all bad. But for Nia, they have good. I think that they would be excited to do a spinoff about Nia. I think your call is probably more correct. I could more likely see her joining the Legends team. I do think that like it seems like they're interested, at least in like continuing Nia or Dreamer somewhere in the the Arrowverse. I don't know where that is possibly going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see her pop up in various places.
Yeah, and she also might pop up in the comics too. She did have that
Ooh, yeah, that's
comic book
true.
debut, so that could be something they could explore as well. Even if she's not on the screen, she could be on the page. Okay, so last thing we should probably cover before we get into feedback, Morgan, is Ducky Lex Luthor showed back up at the end of this episode. So it seemed to me, and just I'm going to pose this to you just to make sure that I understood what was happening. So Nixley had kind of a Nixley Hope AI, if you will, that she was.
Can I just interrupt you?
Yes,
to say
please.
How angry I was. How truly furious that they dared to give her an AI and it wasn't Hope. Here's a perfect opportunity to have a callback to last season that would have like cost them nothing and would have brought me so much joy. And like really, like it couldn't have been like the original Hope AI voice or just me doing that Hope voice. Somebody on the production crew just talking like this. Yeah. Like it I thought it was weirder that it was Nixley talking to herself. Like if it was an AI, I was like, hello, I am here to help you get the dream totem. Let's dream it up. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just felt like it was such a it was like I was being taunted, frankly.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting though. It was as if Nixley was talking to herself, but then I think it was actually Lex the whole time. Is that how you interpreted that?
It seemed like it. It didn't make any sense to me.
How would Lex have known about her crush that she had a crush on?
I don't know. Yeah, because like when she like repairs it, it becomes Lex, and it's like, how though? How? And maybe they'll explain it in the next episode.
Well, in this week's episode, they're like, I'm not going to tell you that yet. I'm like, okay, well, you better tell me at some point.
It's not going to be like the head of Leviathan, right? You're going to tell me someday.
You're going to reveal something, right?
Lex was like, all along, I was the head of Leviathan. Let's start there.
I just told you it was a woman to throw you off.
Twist, turn. Yeah, no, I was so confused by the end of that episode because I wasn't confused that Lex was coming back. I mean, like some of the articles had already spoiled that, and just knowing the show, I knew they were bringing him back. But again, Ducky Lex Luthor, the best. But one of the greats. But like the way that they brought him back made no sense to me. I don't understand how that happened.
Because he did get out of jail. He went to court, went to trial. I remember that because it was weird. And then they let him off the hook but for reasons. And so I guess now he's been doing research on Nixley. Somehow he found out how to contact her, where she was, and knew all about her history. So I'm curious for him to explain how he knew all of this.
He's like, I've been working on my impression of your accent for months.
He sounded great, just like her.
He sounded amazing. He has been doing his accent work is impeccable. He's got all those he's got accent like Nixley accent tapes, and he's been like just getting in there like Kate Winslet in that show that I forgot the name of.
Mayor of Easttown.
Mayor of Easttown. I was like, I can't believe I forgot the name. But yeah,
what eyes?
What eyes? Yeah, he's been doing all the accent tapes. He's been going all the wah-wahs, so he's ready.
Yeah, I actually, just a side note, I was looking stuff up about Peta Sargent today, just to see what else she had been in, because I've enjoyed her as Nixley so much. Mm-hmm. And she was the Jabberwocky in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. I was like, that makes so much sense. I remember loving the Jabberwocky on that show. And so it's just like, well, of course it was. If you've never watched Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, I highly recommend it. Way better than the show it was spun off of, because that show took a nosedive. But Once Upon a Time in Wonderland turned out to be very good by the end of it. It kind of has a rough start, but by the end of it, I was like, I want to live in this world for a lot longer. And it's only like, I don't know, it was like 10 or 13 episodes. But yeah, so Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, if you get a chance to watch it, it's very short and it has a wonderful ending. I shouldn't say wonderful, but it has a wonderful ending. So it's actually a surprise. One of the great things that I wish I could rewatch. Anyway, that's a whole side note. What are your overall thoughts about this episode, Morgan? Nightmare in National City.
I didn't care for this one. I guess it wasn't as bad as Supergirl throwing Hope directly into the sun.
That was a low point.
That was a low point for this show, and but just randomly quitting Catco wasn't much better. I don't know. The Nia stuff was great, and it was like the redeeming. It was the redeeming point of this episode. Does it redeem it entirely? Only if you like take out the Nia section from the rest of the episode and only watch that. The rest of it was pretty rough. We had Esme's drawings. Those were cute. We had Lena's bun. Loved it. Loved that bun. And those two things, really. Those two things. I love that they did explain why Brainy has been green lately by being like, well, William can't see him ungreen. It's like, yeah, but his name is Brainy when he's got the image inducer.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a secret identity.
Why is that a thing? Like, what? Why? So anyway, stuff like that. I just can't. This one was a tough one for me.
I appreciate though that they have the makeup budget for.
They do, yeah. They're really busting out the makeup. I had a couple of like makeup related complaints in this one too. I like literally paused it at one point and I was like, Mike, look at Supergirl's face. They're not even blending in her highlighter anymore. Everyone on this show has given up. And he like looked up and he was like, oh my God. And like, there's just like a line of highlighter on her cheekbone. Like, you know to be ready for the high definition cameras at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I kind of feel like the same thing as like the Jesse Rath, like the Brainiac makeup is a little weird. It's just something about it when you see it on camera. It just doesn't read quite right. It's very flat, I think. It's very, it's just very flat. It doesn't have like a lot of like depth to it. So it doesn't really look like a person's skin. I don't know. There's something off about it. I go into like a little bit of an uncanny valley. Like it used to be better, I think. But in this episode especially, I was like, what's happening with him?
Yeah, sometimes it is a little tough to get used to, but I appreciate that they're making the effort.
It is nice to see him in like the comic correct, brainy sort of outfits and things like that, and like this, like the green skin and everything. That is really cool. Just wish they would try harder, I guess, with it.
Yeah, Anthony chimes in to say, I think his hands are green latex gloves. I know we did have a listener who mentioned that his hands looked a little bigger. So that might actually explain things. If his hands looked bigger, maybe he is wearing some kind of gloves. If we ever get a chance to talk to Jesse Rath, we should ask him about that, because that would actually make sense, because then they wouldn't have to use the makeup all over his hands. They could just have him put on the gloves, and he would already have automatically green hands. And they wouldn't have to do them. They would just do the makeup here.
Yeah.
And not so much on the hands as well. So, yeah. So I guess my overall thoughts would be that this episode was at least somewhat better than last week. But I think there was a lot going on, a lot of things that I had to, buy into as a viewer. The one thing that I was like, really, I'm supposed to believe that Kara Danvers sets things in her creates calendar events for herself. She doesn't set reminders for things.
Definitely not.
Of all the things that happened in this episode, I was like, I don't buy that.
That's the most unbelievable.
That's the most unbelievable thing, is that she sets work reminders in her calendar. I don't buy it. But I did enjoy the Nia Maeve stuff, and I loved Esme's little drawings. And so I guess that was good. So I guess that will do it for our discussion of Nightmare in National City. But let's find out what our listeners had to say about this week's episode.
Sure. Our first tweet is from Electra WWF, who says, "Surprised Nia wasn't called out for missing work like Kara was. Did Andrea forget Nia works at Catco? I sometimes do. So Kara can only be Supergirl. Didn't we already deal with this? Kara should join the Legion of Superheroes so she can be her best superhero self without worrying about work and secret identities." At KKyle1 said, "More of my powers aren't inexplicably whatever I need them to be from Dreamer, but I did like her story, and the effects of her fight with Nixley were cool. But I would love any explanation of dream energy. Quitting may be the best thing Kara does. This poor me thing is getting old. Of course, superheroes should have some problems, but she's supposed to be the paragon of hope." Well, I mean, she did throw it into the sun. She's not Peter Parker. I'm glad Andrea addressed her constant absences. At least we know it was noted in show. Overall, not a bad episode. CM Gutierrez 74 said, "Loved it. Nixley and Lex teaming up, the intense drama between the Nall sisters, Andrea having a coming to Jesus talk with Kara, chef's kiss. The Super Friends are being challenged on their actions, and Kara finally figuring out what she wants. I'm here for all of it." At SL Fricky said, "That'd be like you telling me everything you know about journalism." Well, that should be simple, given Kara slacking on the mentorship. Button up that shirt, Brainy. This isn't a calendar shoot. Not that you know. And they end it with hope. Hemispherical obstructions prevent eradication by nuclear disaster. I like that name for the dome. Jose Rios 1994 said, "The show needs more giant monsters. I like the Nia Maeve stuff, except the ending. Would have been better if it wasn't a happy ending. I didn't know Nia and Brainy were back together, or did I miss something? Kara had a great storyline this week. Writing for the plot is not working."
I thought I had notated something here in the doc. We may get to it in another email or something, but I did let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So somebody else sent an email about the breakup thing. I had a question about that too, about Nia and Brainy's relationship when they wondering when they got back together. All I could find in my personal Google Docs doc notes was that back in season 5, episode 11, Back from the Future Part 1, Car, Alex, and Kelly brought Nia guilt-free chocolate, which seemed like a breakup thing, like a breakup candy kind of thing. And then this season, Nia and Brainy were obviously romantic in the prom night and prom again episodes. So there's kind of this weird thing. They didn't really explain, like, Nia and Brainy, I guess, were I don't know if they had explained like that they had gotten back together or that they were okay again, because most of season 5 had Brainy working with Lex Luthor, and Nia was very worried about Brainy. So I don't know. I couldn't find in my notes like when they had explained like things are okay, they're fine now. But I think at one point they did break up in season 5. So
They definitely broke up in season 5. I knew they were back together, but I could not tell you when that happened.
yeah,
I knew that they were back together as of prom and then prom again.
yeah, it looks like some people are saying, like Patchua says, they got back together off camera. Let's see. Electra WWF says in the season 6 premiere they had a talk, and I think it was implied they got back together.
Well, that sounds pretty standard. So
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Really important things that go on in characters' lives.
Like poor Kelly finding out about Supergirl. At Laura Redenbaum said, good. Lena in the black top with her hair up. Everyone's reaction to Esme's drawings. Brainy making green pancakes while being green. It's not easy being green. Everything else was a dumpster fire, which tells how you really feel. At Willie Belcher 6 said, this show really knows how to piss fans off. This is how you lose 97% of your fan base.
Unfortunately, Willie, I don't know that they care at this point.
They definitely don't.
Even if they did care, I don't know if it would matter with so few episodes to go.
They're not even blending the makeup anymore, Willie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you. It's over. At Happy KT said, the show in this episode was crap. No one is ever there for Kara. William mansplaining to Pulitzer Prize winner Kara on how to interview. The Super Friends are incapable of doing anything without her. The return of that miscreant Lex, who I use as a placeholder for our former president. So not a big fan of this one. At @A_weird girl said, Kara really said, you know what? I can't do this. She is Supergirl, but she can't do it. She has been doing this since season 2. Last week, she threw hope into the sun, and now she quits? How are they going to fix this mess? I hope this leads to something better.
Me too.
We all do. We're all listen. What we can take from this, I think, is that we're all in this together. Just all of us on this boat.
El Mayara.
We're all
stronger
on this boat,
together,
sinking slowly, like the Titanic. But we're all in it together. At Kaya_Matsui said, "This was a garbage episode." So at least I don't feel so bad about my complaints. Kara quitting her job is never the answer. I can't believe they did that. What makes this worse is that Andrea was really reasonable this time, so we can't even blame her.
It's true.
Also, why would Kara have this talk with William and not her sister? It makes no sense. And finally, Ken from Chicago says, good news. The sun is 99.8% of the mass of the entire solar system. It has large solar flares 10 times a year, releasing 22 million times the energy of all the nukes on Earth each. So Supergirl can nuke the sun all day long. # no harm, no foul.
Well, at least we don't have to worry about that impacting climate change. So I feel better about that. So I guess
Thanks,
if
Ken.
she's gonna destroy the hope totem, I guess that was a good way to do it. So
And now I learned some fun facts about the sun, so that's cool too.
We know more about the sun. So thank you, Adkin from Chicago, for that important news. Those sun factoids, I guess. So thank you for that. All right. Well, we do need to catch up on some listener feedback emails because somehow I missed them last week. So before we get to emails about this week's episode of Nightmare in National City, we're going to get to some emails that we missed previously. So the first one comes from Aaron, who writes, quote, I personally loved Blind Spots, and I have two main thoughts on the episode. One, I agree with you both that Rankin did seem like a mustache-twirling villain, but I would also add that her character shared a lot of similarities to the 45th president of the United States. They were government officials who got special rare treatment when dealing with the medical crisis, and after receiving said treatment, they said they were feeling great, her in a press conference and him via Twitter, and all the while minimalizing the seriousness of the medical issue itself because they got through it all right, while not really acknowledging the huge benefit they received that most people couldn't. What's interesting about this, Aaron, is that most politicians have that advantage. I don't know if it's just one politician in particular, but I would say that most government officials do have those advantages. So I would probably put that in a politician in general. People in power in general have that. But Aaron goes on to say, in the infamous sandwich scene, I don't think she actually killed her assistant, but he was also affected by the building collapse. So we would see him lose consciousness because he was the closest in physical proximity to her, and B, whether she did or didn't actually kill him, she was so focused on herself that she didn't even notice that there was a problem with him. Her amazement was, I was thinking of a sandwich and I got it, and she never even looked in his direction when he fainted or whatever. So I feel that what Rankin lacked in complexity was made up for by the realism of her character. I don't know. I think she did kill him though, because she says, I would kill for a sandwich. And if I'm
at that exact moment, he just kind of slumped over.
Yeah. So I think if we're to believe the writing, I think she did kill the assistant.
I think we can't take away this scene, because I think that scene is art. And it was so good because it was so ridiculous. I think that just because she was broad doesn't mean that she wasn't kind of also realistic. There are people who are just broadly terrible. And I think that was that character. But I have to agree with Rebecca. I think she killed that guy for that sandwich, honestly. I think that's what the writing was telling us in that scene.
Yeah, that's personal.
Or at least the directing, right? The directing was telling us, because she said the line and then he slumps over, and I don't know what else as a viewer I'm supposed to take from that, except that he died because she wanted a sandwich.
Yeah, but I appreciate Aaron's sharing thoughts about another interpretation of that scene, seeing it from a different perspective.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And Anthony says in the chat, missed my tweet again. I don't know why that's happening. Anthony, if you can put a link to it in the chat, we'll read it out. And make sure you're all the listeners of Supergirl Radio. I pull these tweets from so after the episode is over, I will put out a tweet saying, hey, send us feedback. And if you reply to that tweet, that's the one we pulled the tweets from to include into the Supergirl Radio episode. So if you want to send in tweet feedback, make sure you're replying to that tweet. I usually pin it to the top of our profile. So that's where I'm usually finding those. And I try to pull the ones that are like sent to @Supergirl Radio, but I usually first will go to the replies to that pinned tweet. So make sure you're putting them there. So I don't know why I'm missing them. I'm also extremely busy the last couple of weeks, so it could just be that I'm just like not seeing them, but put them in the live chat and we'll share them before the end of the episode. Aaron still has more to say. I'm sorry I cut Aaron off. Aaron says, second, there was an argument that they were not talking like, quote, real people. I'd say that dialogue felt real to me. I've had conversations that touch on a lot of similar tones. I understand that just because it felt normal or real to me and my lived experiences, that doesn't mean that is universal, but really nothing is, which is why these sort of conversations are important to see depicted in pop culture. So it seems more normal to have them in real life. That was kind of the part of the point of the episode. It wasn't casting the Super Friends, more specifically Kara and Alex, as evil or bad. Rather, they are good, well-intentioned friends who aren't seeing that they have these blind spots. I have also seen a conversation where a person, when discussing race, mentions those feelings of shame, combating their own white fragility, taking stock of their entire life and different choices that they have made in regards to taking action or staying out of it because it felt like the problem had nothing to do with them. Why is this singular conversation worth mentioning? mentioning, because the person who was talking was Melissa Benoist, and she mentions these things in conversation on social media. So in terms of real or not real, the dialogue may have felt so in terms of how real or not real the dialogue may have felt, it is certainly true to what some of the actors' experiences were or are, and therefore they have informed their word choices and delivery. Thanks for allowing me to share my thoughts on the show, and I can appreciate that we all interpret these stories differently, and that it's not a matter of I'm right and you're wrong or vice versa. Rather, it's taking in this show that we all care about and sharing our own feelings, interpretations, and reactions to the subjective art with others who also like the show. I think for me, when I mentioned the talk like a real person, because I think that's in regards to what I said, it also was more so also like for my personal experience, but also the characters don't normally talk like that with each other, and so I thought it was kind of jarring that all of a sudden they were talking like this when they don't really talk like that in previous episodes. So that's one of the things I was kind of taking issue with.
Yeah, I think for Kelly, that episode seemed like 100% character correct because she is a therapist and she talks in those kind of, those kind of terms. But some of the other characters, I can see your point where it's like not exactly how they talked in previous episodes. But I really appreciate her writing in and giving her perspective on the episode. And I think that she's got really valid points on all of that.
Yeah, so I appreciate Erin writing in to share those thoughts.
And we love it when people write in and share a thought, even if they think like, they've got a different interpretation of a scene.
That's okay. We're open to disagreement. So feel free to share your thoughts.
So Julia wrote in with some thoughts on the Gauntlet episode, saying, this episode was a blast. The writing was better and the tone was less melodramatic. Having everyone act out of character gave levity to the episode, which allowed the more serious scenes, like Nixley telling off her brother for his betrayal, to have more impact. All in all, it felt more like the show it always could have been. But let's not waste too much time and energy getting stuck on that thought. Jesse Rath is a scene stealer as always, this time as Vita possessing Brainy. Love Courage boosted Space Dad. He was the emotionally available, in touch with his feelings parental figure that 80% of the super fans need. I hope that John keeps it up in a less mission endangering way after this episode. Love the throwback to season 1 with the saving the plane as the courage test. My theory on Kara's courage test, she would have passed if she allowed the guy that got mugged to turn around and look at her. I'm hoping the writers are trying to reconnect to a long-standing conflict in the show, protecting Kara's secret identity, fear of risking her secret identity.
I like that theory.
I like that theory too. I think that makes sense. I'm hoping that failing this test means that it will come up again later as a key part of the season. I think I speak for most people when I say that all we really want is returns on the emotional investments we've made in this show, on the characters, their relationships, their stories, etc., so that each episode matters and feels more connected to the others and the seasons as a whole. This is the last chance they'll get to do it.
Let's see if that happens.
Fingers crossed.
All right. So I did find Dr. Nicole Green's tweet saying the good Esme's drawings. What is art? What is art? Art is paintings of horses. We all know this. And any and all of the outfits, a sweater, dress, casual domestic scenes, Brain Corp science, Maeve's office, which is huge, Nia, lovely and powerful, the bad, the plot, and the shield that most definitely severed a person. So I'll continue to look for the other tweet that was missing, but that was Dr. Nicole writing in with that tweet there. Joseph also wrote in to see if we could help him solve a mystery, Morgan.
Ooh.
I don't know if we can, if the live chat can help us solve the mystery.
This sounds exciting.
So if we don't know the answer, hopefully somebody else will know the answer. So Joseph writes in saying, quote, I was in Vancouver this past July for a friend's wedding and decided to walk around downtown. Another friend who lives in Vancouver mentioned that Supergirl was filming somewhere downtown that day. So we were on the lookout for the filming while taking in the sights. I haven't actually watched Supergirl since season 4, but I'm a faithful listener to your podcast. Oh,
Nice.
I love that someone doesn't watch the show, but they still listen to the podcast. That makes me happy.
That's so great.
So Joseph says, so most of my knowledge of what's happening on the series comes from you guys. I hope that's okay.
Sorry.
Joseph says, we saw trucks parked at the side of the road for a production company, so we knew we were close. As we walked down the street, I saw a sign that said, No video of photography. There was a woman standing next to the sign, and there was a little barricade preventing people from walking past the spot. Beyond the barricade were a set of stairs leading up to what looked like a little pavilion with some small trees between two skyscrapers. About 20 feet from where I was standing, I could see what looked like Dreamer, Martian Manhunter, and Sentinel. They were wearing face masks and sunglasses, but I'm pretty sure they were stunt doubles, mostly because the Martian Manhunter was bald. We stood around for a few minutes waiting for them to start shooting, but there was a lot of them standing around talking to who I assumed were writers, directors, or camera people. There was also a big crane that had a camera on it, perhaps to film the scene from a bird's eye view. Since I'm not actively watching the series, I was wondering if you knew what episode I saw being filmed. Has there been an episode this season where Dreamer, Sentinel, and Martian Manhunter have an action scene in the pavilion? Love your podcast, and I look forward to continuing to listen when the series concludes, unquote. So I can't think right offhand where there's been a scene with Dreamer, Martian Manhunter, and Sentinel in a pavilion. So if anybody in the live chat can think of any scene that might be like that, we need to solve this mystery for Joseph.
Yeah, it can't be this one because they weren't all together.
I was trying to go back a couple of episodes, and I don't...
Yeah.
And also July, I think they wrapped Supergirl like early August. So July might have been like...
You might have seen some like late season stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I'm thinking
spoilers.
I'm thinking maybe episode 18, 19, something like that.
I think we should start Pavilion Watch.
I think we should.
to see if we can find this episode for him.
So I think Joseph may have seen something in the finale. I don't know.
That might be something in the way future. What if he was like, I saw Supergirl like run off to, the future or something. And it was like, don't tell us that.
You spoiled everything, Joseph. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll have to look out for Joseph to see if he spotted something in the late episodes of this season, because I don't think it's happened yet.
Aaron asks, was it day or night? He said it was day, right?
I think it was day, but I can clarify. We'll get some more
details. Let us know if it was day or day or night, so we can be on proper Pavilion Watch.
Yes.
Hashtag Pavilion Watch. Okay, so Christy wrote in to share some irks about this season, and Kelly writing, social worker is such a broad term. Is she a caseworker? A case manager? A placement specialist, a foster care worker, a medical social worker? Who even knows? Christy, I'm loving this energy. I have my master's in counseling. I'm a certified advanced alcohol and drug counselor, certified life coach, and soon, hopefully, to be a limited licensed professional counselor. I don't know if I can be considered an expert, but I can be a consultant, and we always need more.
We need more consultants.
So, one, Kelly, who is a psychologist, would not be able to just switch to being a social worker. Here's a breakdown of most roles in the social services field. A psychiatrist is someone who has been to medical school and has a concentration in psychiatry. They can prescribe medications and usually don't do any therapy or counseling. They get paid the most at around $250K per year. So, not bad, Kelly.
It's pretty good.
A psychologist, in most states, a licensed psychologist has to obtain a doctorate degree, not a medical doctor, like a PhD or a PsyD, which is a doctorate in psychology. They do counseling or therapy. Most cannot prescribe medications. Illinois, Louisiana, and New Mexico are the only states that allow psychologists to prescribe medications. They make around $80,000 or more per year. Now, a counselor or a therapist has a master's degree and usually obtains an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. Their pay can be as low as $30,000 to $35,000 per year and up to about $75,000 per year. Now, a social worker has a bachelor's or master's degree in social work. This is a licensed clinical social worker or licensed master social worker. Most LCSW may become a counselor or a therapist. Social work programs are not usually heavy counseling classes. Their pay can vary and can be low, like $30,000 to $35,000, to around $50,000 to $60,000. It's kind of crazy to me that some of these, like the pay ranges of some of these professions that make you get master's degrees.
Oh, yeah, it should
How are
be
you
hi
ever paying that back?
Yeah, why did you get that master's degree in the first
That's
place?
insanity. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. Just crazy, crazy. Life coaches, no higher education training, no governing body to set things like ethics. Life coaches should not treat mental health issues or substance use issues. Okay. All of these have different skill sets and programs. You cannot switch between these positions without the proper training and education. So, for Kelly to become a social worker, which is a very broad term, she would need to go back to school and obtain a social work degree. Also, concerning salary, she would have to start at the bottom. 2, ethics and confidentiality. It is absolutely unethical for Kelly to foster and adopt a child on her caseload.
Whoops.
Whoops. That's a big whoopsie for Kelly, but don't worry, she hasn't gone back for that certification yet, so she doesn't know. Okay. Christy goes on to say dual relationships are considered unethical and they should be avoided as much as possible. For example, you may not be able to avoid a client being your server at a restaurant if there are no other tables available. For me, as a counselor, if I saw a client walking in the cold or rain, it would be unethical for me to give them a ride in my car. As a counselor, caseworker, social worker, etc., you are not your client's friend. They should not know about your personal life. You should oh no, I scrolled too far. And that's not great. They should not know about your personal life. You should not be friends or follow each other on social media. You also should not talk about your clients to friends and family. They should not know your clients by name or have any identifying information, hair color, tattoos, etc. If I were to say I had a difficult client who was dealing with a lot of loss and trauma, that would be vague and general with no real identifying information. If I said my client with a tattoo of an octopus on their neck who was dealing with trauma from being shot last month and their house burning down, that would be unethical because there is identifying information. It's always disappointing to see how people in the social sciences field are portrayed because usually they are violating some boundary or ethics that would, in the real world, make someone lose their license or livelihood. Oh my God, this is an amazing email. Number 3, this isn't an irk, but I thought in the last episode, Lena was looking especially pale. I wasn't sure if the long, dark, crimpy hair was making her look pale or if it was the witchiness.
I think it was the witchiness.
Christy, I think it was the witchiness. And 4, I thought the heartbeat part of the scene with Esme, Cara, and Alex was so sweet. Newborn babies are often comforted by the sound of a heartbeat, specifically their mother's heartbeat, because it's the most familiar sound to them.
That is nice.
Oh, that's cute.
I like that.
That was an amazing email that gave us so many answers to questions about Kelly just seamlessly transitioning into social work without seemingly any boundary or recertification of any kind.
Maybe she's quit her job as a social worker so she could adopt Esme.
Maybe.
Maybe everybody's just quitting their jobs. Like nobody has a job anymore.
So Jean's just supporting all of them with his lottery money from like reading people's minds.
I just assume he has like pirate gold or something that he got several hundred years ago.
I think Jean goes, you know what I think? I think he goes to like Vegas like occasionally.
Oh, well, he could, yeah.
To deep in thought and just like makes a bunch of money and then just disappears. I think that's probably how it's done.
Anytime funds dry up, they hit Vegas.
My favorite is that like Legends of Tomorrow actually explained like how they have money by like one of the characters like just stole some stuff and like was just like hawking it basically. But Supergirl's like never gonna get into that.
Just not even gonna explain it.
Doesn't care. We're good.
Well, Lena from Russia sent us an email saying, a quote, can't leave some Kaznia issues go by without a comment.
Yes.
And so I'm going to pull up an overlay because Lena from Russia sent us some images that we could share so that we could all see what was going on. So the format of the car license plates shown in the episode Hope for Tomorrow is used in the Vladimir region of Russia. And Lena from Russia says, though I now live in Moscow or Moscow. How do people say that?
I hear Moscow, both. But I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go with Morgan and say Moscow. Though I now live in Moscow, I was born and spent my childhood in Murom, one of the major towns of this region. Vladimir, the administrative center of the region, is named after Vladimir the First. I guess the name is Krasnosolnishko. I hope I didn't butcher that. His name is translated to mean red sun. It's really interesting that they chose this license plate. I think it's necessary to explain, and I'm actually, let me, before I go on, I think I need to go here now. So Lena from Russia says, I think it's necessary to explain some meaning of the color red in Russian culture, as it seems that Russian red is mostly perceived as something bloody, aggressive, and regarding the military. Well, that's partially true, but like in many other cultures, it also means life, wellness, and beauty. Moreover, Russian words for red and beautiful had the same root, and earlier they were synonyms. There's an ancient expression. I think it's. I'm going to take a stab at it. Krasna Devitsa, which means a beautiful girl, but literally it also means a red girl. So peasant girls were fans of the red color. In that way, Vladimir's nickname doesn't necessarily mean it was given to him as a definition of a cruel, powerful reign, but there is a possibility that it personified love and respect. As proof of this theory, the word sun in his nickname is the Russian version. It is given in a soft form. What I'm trying to say is that there is some godlike person, the red sun, revered by the people, and this form of relationship definitely has some similarities to the relationships between Kryptonians and Rao in the Supergirl universe. In this case, the choice of Vladimir of the Vladimir region on a car plate is perfect. Though I believe this is just a coincidence, good reasons for speculations, but no more than that. But I think it's great.
That's really interesting.
I think Lena from Russia gave us a lot of like a layered interpretation of that license plate that gives a little more meaning to what they were doing. So I hope that's intentional from the show. Otherwise, Lena just gave us some really cool stuff that we can kind of chew on, which I think is awesome. So thank you for writing in about that.
I love you making it smarter than it definitely was. That was so cool. That was so neat. And I learned things too.
Yeah.
This is an educational podcast now, really.
Yes. There's some links in the video description of the live stream, and we'll put them in the audio podcast show notes of the Vladimir region and of Vladimir the First. So if you'd like to learn more about Russian countryside, I guess, and the region that Lena is talking about and the political leader that she's referring to, you can definitely go check that out. But I think that does give a little more context to the red sun of it all with Kaznia in season 4. So I really I like that email.
That's awesome. Okay, so now here are some emails about this week's episode, Nightmare in National City. This one is from Kenny, who writes, before I get to my thoughts on Supergirl Season 6, Episode 16, Nightmare in National City, I wanted to give you my overall thoughts on Supergirl Season 6. While I have enjoyed most of Supergirl during its 6-year run, this final season has been so disappointing on so many levels. Yes, there have been good seasons and not so good seasons, and good episodes and bad episodes, but this season has too many inconsistencies in the writing. The characters are making odd choices, and why did they have to use magic as the main story arc? I hope the rest of the season gets better. I still love Supergirl and hope the series gets a good ending. As for this week's episode, there was some good stuff with Nia and her sister, but the rest of it was pretty forgettable. Thanks for reading my emails and comments over the last 6 years, and I hope Supergirl Radio will continue even after the series is over.
Sure. Well, thanks for writing in, Kenny, and sharing your thoughts with us the last 6 years. And we'll definitely be still talking about Supergirl.
We're still here
until Morgan's like, "That's it. I don't want to do this anymore." We'll just keep doing it. So thank you for writing in, Kenny. Okay, so Daryl sent us an email saying, quote, "It's strange seeing Brainy constantly be green, and the excuse they use is because William is around, but Brainy has no secret identity, so I don't know who had that bright idea. It does beg the question, why is he green in the first scene with just him and Nia? I bet they're saving money by just having a rotating schedule of characters who just aren't there. This week, Esme and Kelly are off to visit Esme's new uncle, James. I'm not used to watching and James was in Calvintown. I appreciate the consistency in that. Daryl goes on to say, I'm not used to watching a Supergirl season where they are so concerned about what the public thinks, and I don't like it. They're introducing it way too late into the final season.
Exactly.
Daryl goes on to say, I don't like how William can just come and go into the tower as he pleases. The fight between Nia and Maeve is long overdue. We needed another Danvers sisters couch scene so we could be reminded what a healthy relationship between sisters look like, but instead we get a scene between Supergirl and William in the end. But by all rights should have been a Danvers sisters couch scene. And Daryl also says they're really just repeating old storylines right now. Can Kara have two identities? Done in season 1. I think also Daryl, I think it was also done in season 3. Daryl says Kara quitting Cat Code, done in season 3. She tried being just Supergirl before and it didn't go so well. At least she's not doing it this time because she's sad about a guy. Once this Nixley crisis is over, what will Kara do for work? That's a great question. And Daryl also asked the question about Brainy and Nia being back together, which we've already talked about. But thank you for sharing your thoughts, Daryl.
So Emma wrote in with some thoughts about Nightmare in National City, writing, I was so excited for a split second, thinking Lex had sent Nixley her own version of hope. But alas, it was not to be. I still don't get what the weird Robo Nixley was or how it somehow turned into Lex. Neither do I. We got 2 Cat Grant mentions. I hope they managed to wrangle Callista Flockhart back for the finale. Gasp, 2 episodes in a row where Kara remembers she's a reporter and shows up to work? What is this madness? Kara quitting makes sense, I guess, given that she's never at work and she does have a lot on her plate, but I really don't like it in terms of her character story arc. Also, 2-week notice, Kara. The Dome cut that truck in half. Is anyone else concerned that a few living things were also cut in half? I was. Don't worry. I went to the dark place immediately. When John said that Nixley with Dream's powers might be unstoppable, I initially thought, really? But then I remembered that Dream powers can do anything the plot demands and found myself nodding, yeah, that tracks. I appreciate the in-show acknowledgement that Dreamer's ill-defined powers make her very overpowered. I'm still so confused about why they need public support. That said, I don't think Kara's apology was really an apology, and her saying that they'll stop Nixley no matter the cost probably isn't comforting the public much.
Yeah, that's a good point because Supergirl was like, we'll stop Nixley even if we have to take people's humanity away from them. That's not
They're
super
like,
comforting.
she's like, I'm sorry about the dome I dropped over your city, but I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, I would do it again. I was like, oh, Supergirl. Okay, aggressive.
Well, Dr. Nicole Green sent us an email writing, quote, I'm really struggling to find the hope in this week's episode. No, I haven't forgotten it was yeeted into the sun. As I was watching the episode, there were some strong parallels between Kara and what many people have been experiencing this past year. Uncertainty, discontent, and burnout. How topical. Many Americans are trading out their jobs for a new direction in what's being dubbed the Great Resignation. I can't fault Kara for being overwhelmed and wanting a break from the obligations of being a renowned reporter. She carries the weight of the world on her shoulders, a long-standing struggle that has been addressed in prior episodes, not to mention her extremely traumatic revisit to the Phantom Zone mere episodes ago. As we neared the end of the episode, I was leaning heavily on a moment of inspiration and hope from Kara to acknowledge her strain, reach out for help, and find a way to reestablish her work superhero life balance. Instead, we got what felt like a very abrupt and rash decision to quit her job after Andrea showed an unusual amount of empathy and chill around Kara missing several key work obligations. I have to imagine Cat Grant would have a few things to say about this decision. We did get William bringing up a classic Cat Grant pearl of wisdom, which was nostalgic and well-timed. I thought for certain Kara was going to march into Andrea's office and find a solution to move forward with her idea of inspiring people through transparent world diplomacy. To say I was floored when she quit was an understatement. Now, I haven't forgotten we saw Cat Grant herself leave Catco in season 2, Where Cat Grant's decision to move on from Catco felt like a moment of growth in her pursuit of new and bigger challenges, Kara's exit feels like a concession and a severing of a major part of her identity. I'm trying to stay hopeful that the next few episodes will see Kara contemplating what she wants for her future. However, past experiences show us when Lex Luthor steps back into the story, we are in for constant chaos and an overemphasis on Lex's mastermind plots. I need some serious heart-to-hearts on the Danvers couch and some big talks between the Super Friends to understand Kara's decisions. Where is Eliza's mom energy? Yeah, what's Eliza doing? Maybe some art therapy between Esme, Kelly, and Kara. Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Yes.
A chat on the feelings balcony, trademarked. Let us watch Kara heal. Kara Danvers is my favorite person. Alex Danvers also said that in season 3. And I would hate for this episode to be the last time we see an adorable, bumbling reporter with a heart of gold and compassion for days. The world needs her right now, unquote. I think those are some really great points, especially, the idea that even Cat Grant herself was like, bye, Catco. I built this company, but I'm leaving. But Cat also left it, and to Dr. Green's point, a higher pursuit. She became a press secretary and she did all this other stuff. So there was a reason that she left. She, went to a yurt and stayed in a yurt, and then she had all these ideas about what she wanted to do with her life. So I think the only reason for me, if Kara quitting is like for good, end of story, there needs to be something else that Kara is going to be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
In my opinion.
Our last email comes from Mark, who wrote, so Kara and her team forced a big chunk of National City into a Stephen King novel because they were being menaced by a creature out of an anti-smoking PSA. Couldn't Supergirl have picked the creature up and carried it away, or put the dome just over the nuclear plant to protect it? Sure, you'd have to fix the broken power lines after, but think of the taco trucks that would have been spared. Meanwhile, Kara Danvers was once again proving that she is the most unreliable employee ever. At least regular people who just never show up for work at all don't blow off world leaders multiple times while doing so. There was no reason for her to have done that. Why am I hearing Rebecca's voice in my head right now?
Do you want to hear Rebecca's voice in your head? There was no reason for her to have done that. Okay.
Then they resolve it by remembering Cat Grant's line about having it all, but not at the same time, and completely forgetting the time Kara talked about how she could have a much broader impact as a reporter than as Supergirl, and also said something about Supergirl is what I can do. Kara Danvers is who I am, which I think is a direct crib from a Superman movie.
It was actually Dean Cain on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Sure.
But at least at the time, it gave them a decent bit of writing, so I'll allow it. I'll also give them credit for mentioning Franklin and Mackenzie, who must spend all of their time out in the field, actually gathering information for stories. But now Kara has quit her job, and Andrea actually called her out for being a horrible employee and joined the ranks of the people who are apparently all living off of Nia's entry-level salary and John's secret mountain of stolen gold. Lastly, to touch on Nia's storyline, I have 3 thoughts. Even though I'm not particularly a fan of the CW formula, I've heard it described as 5 minutes of action, 25 minutes of talking about feelings. I'm glad she got to resolve the story with Maeve, particularly since the show is supposed to be about sisterhood. I also like the bit where Nia called Brainy and then snarked at her sister with, "That's my boyfriend. He has a 12th level intellect." But the final scene between them when everything came rushing out. Don't get me wrong, the scene was great, but why was it the best written scene the show has had since the new showrunners came aboard? Was one that didn't have Kara in it at all. Kara didn't need to be in that scene, but why can't they write like that for her? Arg.
It is frustrating, I will admit.
Yeah. It's tough.
They're capable of writing those things. They just haven't done that with Kara in a while. So maybe the last couple of episodes in the home stretch of the show, maybe we'll see something like that for
Fingers
Kara.
crossed.
Fingers and toes crossed. All right. Well, Morgan, I think we should get to
I think so. Let's start snapping.
In the game of Snap Judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay, so Our first set of snap judgments comes from @CMGutierrez74. Do you continue working at Catco, even if you are not fully present and your work reputation suffers for it? Or do you quit Catco, effectively throwing away everything you have worked for to save the world from Nixley/Lex?
I mean, this is the Kara quandary.
It is the Kara quandary.
So I am having to save the world from Nixley and Lex. That's the premise behind this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see why Kara did that, because she does see that Supergirl is more needed during this part. So even if I'm mad at Supergirl for being a quitter, I can see why she did it. So I might have to pick or do you quit Catco, effectively throwing everything you've worked for to save? I mean, if it's working in the office or saving the world, I guess you do have to save the world. So that's the one I'm gonna pick.
I feel like I'm going to continue working at Catco because, listen, I wasn't full. There was no point in history when I was fully present at that job. And my work reputation deserves to suffer because I never show up. But why ruin a good thing, right? I can do it. I can have it all. Okay, so our next set of snap judgments are from Emma. First one. Which crossover meeting would you rather see? Lena meeting Morgana Pendragon, Kara meeting Marley Rose, or Alex meeting Lexi Gray?
Oh, Lena meeting Morgana Pendragon. That's, I mean, the witch crossover. That's the witch crossover of my dreams right there.
Oh yeah, I think this is a no-brainer for me as well. I want to see that. I want to see the witches, get to meet each other, and Morgana's like, "Do you want a dragon?" There would also be a funny thing where like Katie would be playing off of like herself doing like her actual accent. So I feel like as the episode goes along, Lena just gets more Irish. So they slowly just become the same person.
Yes.
That'd be amazing. Okay. You awaken to find yourself trapped in a musical.
Oh, I like
Which
this.
musical would you want to be trapped in? Into the Woods, Wicked, or Les Mis? The only one I know is which one I don't want to be trapped in.
Les Mis has pretty serious matter, like subject matter, but it also has really good music.
Good music, but I don't know that I want to be in the French Revolution.
I guess this matters on like, are you the lead part, or are you just like in the chorus? Like, are you just a background player? Like, I assume like we're the leads.
I mean, I think we can be. If this is our musical, we can be the leads.
I don't know. I think I would want to be in Into the Woods. The songs are very hard to sing, but I like the fairy tale aspect of Into the Woods. So I'd probably say Into the Woods.
So I don't have a lot of experience with Into the Woods. I don't really know the show. So I feel like I'm going to go Wicked, because I'm not going to go into Les Mis. Everyone's going to die in that thing. I don't want to hear the people sing. I'm getting out of there. So Wicked seems chiller to me. It's still got a fairy tale aspect. Good songs.
You could defy gravity.
I'm defying gravity. And you aren't bringing me down.
Because you'd be popular.
So popular. Oh man, yes. Great question. Okay. Last snap judgment from Emma. It's your birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Yay, happy birthday. And a mysterious package has been left on your doorstep. Inside, a silver crown, a red cloak, and a golden dragon's egg.
Oh, I like this.
Also, a set of super detailed instructions.
Oh, no.
If you place the crown atop your head, you will instantly be transported to a medieval kingdom.
We're really going to the medieval times.
We're spending a lot of time in medieval times. And I haven't had a single turkey leg, and I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay. You're putting the crown atop your head. You're going to instantly be transported to a medieval kingdom over which you rule as a benevolent and beloved queen. But it's currently embroiled in a decades-long war with its neighbor.
Uh-oh.
If you drape the cloak around your shoulders, you will travel back in time to Tudor era England, where you're the daughter of a duke, but you are fated to catch the eye of Henry VIII, who was the worst to all the women in his life. if you pick up the dragon egg. You will gain the power to transform into a mighty dragon at will, but the price is one childhood memory per full transformation from human to dragon and back to human again. Which do you choose?
I want to transform into a mighty dragon. Even if I lose memories, like I'm still getting to transform into a dragon. So I guess I could live with that.
I'm also picking the dragon. Here's why. I actually have a pretty bad memory, so I'm not losing anything.
It's not any different.
I'm not losing anything I'm even gonna miss, right? But I am a dragon in that scenario. It's what am I gonna lose? One of like the 3 memories my brain manages to hold on to? It's all gonna be like episodes of Buffy I watch. Don't worry, I'll be fine. That's a great snap judgment. I don't understand why we keep going into these medieval time scenarios and these snap judgments. It's not really what this show is, but I love it.
I like it.
Anyway,
I mean,
it's a twist I didn't see coming.
Now I kind of wish we had Supergirl in medieval times. Like just for one episode, she just gets like taken into medieval times.
That'd be fun. They didn't do enough wacky stuff on this show, honestly.
Yeah.
The places they could have taken this.
She could have been like a princess on a horse. On a white horse.
Missed opportunities all around. Okay. Our next snap judgment is from Mark. Now, Anna has started, may I say, like a whole cottage industry of snap judgments because they're all extremely long now. No one sends in normal short snap judgments anymore. They're all just Anna, you've started your own genre of snap judgments, and I hope that you're proud. Okay, here's Mark's snap judgment. On the eve of the Supergirl series finale, you are abducted by relatively kind aliens. Always something with these. Okay. You are allowed to bring one loved one with you, and they promise no harmful experiments or nasty probing will be performed, but you will never return to Earth, and you will never see the rest of your friends and family again. Or you find out how Supergirl ended. Okay. Or before the series finale, you take a job as director of social media for the CW Supergirl and Supergirl Writers Room accounts, meaning you're the one who has to read and respond to Twitter and Instagram, and you sign a contract that makes the job impossible to leave. Then, in the series finale, the following happens. Kara decides a totally free and available Mon-El is the true love of her life and goes to the 31st century to be with him. Nia and Brainy stay together in the present day. Alex and Kelly and Esme live happily ever after, and William's Canadian girlfriend turns out not only to exist, but is revealed to have been Lena all along. And the two of them go off into the sunset, making googly eyes at each other. Now, the question is, do you get abducted by aliens, or do you become the social media manager of Supergirl after that finale?
And remember, in the first option, I don't think you see your friends and family again.
No, you got like a +1, and that's it. That's it. But in the second situation, you have to read all of
deal
those
with the
tweets
fallout of that crap storm
of that finale. Well, this is more of a thinker than you'd think.
I don't know. I think I would be the social media person because I would just lean into it and have a lot of fun with it. Like, because what are they going to do?
You would just
fire
start
you?
trolling.
What are they going to do? They can't fire you. What are they
you're
going to
apparently
do at
under
that
like
point?
a lockdown contract, right? This is your life now.
So I don't think I could not see my friends and family, but I think I could put up with a few like hate tweets from people. I would do what Damon Lindelof used to do when he was on Twitter, and he would just be like he'd get somebody like sending some kind of hate his way, and he'd be like, "Hey man, what's up?" Like he would just like interact with them even though they were saying nasty things about them. I think that's how I would play it, is I would just kind of troll them back.
I mean, what's the alien life like up there? Well, I mean, another civilization to explore. could make new friends, right?
And you do get, I mean, you do get a +1.
I get a +1, so I can take Mike.
You can take Mike.
I can take Mike.
You
I
can live
can't
with
take the
that.
cats though, probably. That's gonna
No,
be tough.
I don't think the cats count.
All right. I would miss the boys.
Could I take the lab cats even though they would kill me because I'm highly allergic to cats?
I mean, I would
And
miss
they
all
could-
of you in
They
that
could,
scenario.
they could. I would take care of the lab cats for you, and maybe I'll get over my allergies, and they can be a source of comfort when I'm dealing with the social media stuff. I will
I like
babysit
it.
them while you're
like
off with
it.
the aliens.
I like it. Maybe I figure out a way to come back. I feel like it's safer than the
Yeah.
other option.
Well, I don't think the Snap Judgment said it was forever.
Oh, well, they might have. It might have.
Oh, well.
Might be forever. But how bad is forever, right? Okay, I mean, I would probably do this. So I would miss my friends and family. I would do the social media job. I think I would just never respond to anything. I would just be aloof and untouchable in that job.
Just tweet out pictures every now and then. You'd be fine.
You know what? I would. Have you ever seen? It's like the Consumer Protection Agency or something. There's one like U.S. government agency that just tweets out insane things. It's like pictures of like a baby's head on like a falcon or something, and it's like, watch out, your baby doesn't get kidnapped by falcons and stuff like that. I would be that, but for Supergirl. It would be like a fever dream, all of my tweets. It would make no sense.
You just start like tweeting out things you wish had happened on the show.
Exactly. Remember that episode where Snapper snapped? Director Bones, yes, please. No one can stop me. I'm under contract.
I think that's a good way to go about it. I do want to respond to something in the live chat really quickly because I don't know why this is happening. So Bethany says, I sent an email to you guys. Would you be willing to read it? I know you're done with feedback. What happened? I hope it showed up. So let me take a second. So just so everyone knows, I don't know why this is now becoming the case late in the game because we've kind of operated like this for a long time. So just FYI, if you do want to send in feedback, there is a point in the day that I do stop compiling feedback because it just gets to a point where I can't do it anymore right before the live stream. So get your feedback in early and quickly as soon as you can, because we'll probably stop taking it Wednesdays around 5 p.m. Eastern, I guess. So just FYI, if you do want to get your stuff read the week it happens. So Bethany, so just to break it up, in the middle of Snap Judgments, I'm going to read an email real quick. Sure. Because I don't want people's feedback to go unread. But Bethany says, I want to speak on the National Guard aspect of the episode as a National Guard woman myself. Oh. So we have a National Guard consultant. That's good.
Another consultant.
We're really
Join
building
us.
a team here. So Bethany says, big fan here and a longtime listener. My name is Bethany. I have a lot of thoughts on this episode. First of all, I enjoy your podcast so much. It always brightens my day. Morgan, I love your cat. I hope you mean cats, Bethany, because she does have
They're both
two.
great, but Beaker is more of the ham of the.
So love the cats, plural, because we don't want to show any favoritism. Bethany says, that said, I love the Kara-centered storyline. But quitting cat code, this better not be permanent. Would have loved to see her give that interview that meant so much to her and have a win. But whatever, I guess we will spend more time on Lex Luthor. Eye roll. But overall, good episode, better than last week. She gave some hope back. They better tie this to the finale that she gets to eventually have it all if we see her take a step back from reporting and hopefully make it the right call for what's going on. So Bethany says, I'm in the National Guard and have been for 4 years and love their representation in this episode. But where did those uniforms come from? Because that is not any National Guard or Army uniform anyone has ever worn since Desert Storm. Also, I want to pride Supergirl that they use somewhat correct terminology in that the governor would deploy us in that scenario. And my question would be then, wouldn't the National Guard have been used for many scenarios in National City? Like, where was the National Guard during the riots and everything else that they would have been mostly likely be that they would have most likely been deployed for several scenarios for several different seasons, and especially a giant cat. Yeah, they probably get called in for that. Also, the police still haven't shown up to help National City.
No,
Yeah,
they're
so
not there.
I think they get a mention every now and then. But sorry about that, Bethany. The email came in kind of when I was setting up things for the live stream, so just wanted to make sure we read that. So if anybody in the live chat, if you have emails that you want us to read, let us know just in case we miss them. Or if you have tweets, put links to them in the live chat, because we do want to make sure everybody's voices and opinions get heard. All right. Having said that, let's dive back into snap judgments, because I think are we still?
We've got one set left, and it's from Anna.
We do have to get to Anna's snap judgments.
Of course.
So let's get to them.
Okay. Number 1. What is the real reason Kara quit her job? She wants to be poor like Lena and live in a cottage in the woods and watch Lena do magic for the rest of her days. Or Kara is about to start her villain arc on the show.
It's sort of, I could see some of this becoming into, it could be turned into a villain arc. She destroys hope and she quits her job. Yeah, I could tell. If they really wanted to, they could turn this into a villain arc.
A juicy villain arc. It's not a lot of time left to do it, but they could. Now, I'm going to go in a different direction.
Okay.
I feel like cottagecore Kara could be really fun. She's like just out there gathering twigs and berries and stuff to make a tea. And she's like, Lena, look I got you a Eye of Newt for your for your next potion. Lena's like, great. And then they both sort of frolic together in the woods. I think it's a great spinoff. I think, when the show sort of winds down, like, you never know. Maybe that cottage in the woods is waiting for them. They're both poor now, and Lena loves magic, so it's working out.
I think it would be a nice change of pace. I think
it would be relaxing for them, and I want that for them. Okay, so 2, her second snap judgment. When you watched the episode and felt those moments of frustration and anger, what were you actually feeling? This one's going to get deep, I think. A deep sadness in your core, as if you are a young girl, again hidden behind a pew, watching silently as they carry the casket of the baker's daughter, your only friend, who died of the sweating sickness.
The sweating sickness?
Are we back in the medieval times? What is everyone doing to us? Or a deep hurt, the kind of hurt that sends a visceral feeling of fear and defeat through your system, as if you are again watching your parents destroy your manuscript because they say women shouldn't be published. So now it's like we're still in the past is the thing. Maybe, I don't know. But okay, so we're back in the past, we're in history. What are we feeling?
I think I'm feeling the hurt and the defeat through my system. The feeling of fear and defeat through the system, as if watching my parents destroy my manuscript. I think that's kind of where I am. I don't know if I'm sad or frustrated, just kind of like I feel broken down and defeated. I feel like there's nothing that can't be done. So I think that's probably where I am.
I think I'm also, they're burning that manuscript. I've worked really hard on it.
We had so many ideas.
Director Bones! I cry as I fall to my knees. So yeah, I think that's sort of where I am mentally and emotionally. Thanks, Anna, for capturing that. All right, last one. Last week on Supergirl Radio, you both decided to stay in the present day and not return to your medieval French child, Fleur de Lis. Anna, this is feeling a little judgmental. All right, just to say, just to start, I'm feeling a little judged. Okay, but she learns of your choice, and she's devastated. I'm really sorry. Hold on. I gotta get it together. Okay. She spends her days learning to understand time travel, which unfortunately leads her to become a hired assassin in France in order to afford the funds to build a time travel machine. On her 14th birthday.
Wait, she's 14 and she's a hired assassin.
It's brutal. We left her. We left Fleur all on her own. My God, what have we done?
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
On her 14th birthday, she finally makes it to the present day after years of hard work. 785 murders.
Holy cow!
Wow,
That's serial
Fleur.
killer stuff.
She is I don't want to mess with her. And confronts you in your bedroom at 4 a.m. That's not someone I want to see in my bedroom at any time.
She's a very scary assassin.
In a teary monologue, she says, Marie, why did you not
in en français.
Oh, yeah. Let me know.
Mère.
Okay. So, Mère, why did you not pick me? All I wanted my whole life was to be good enough for you, but you didn't love me enough to come back to me. What do you do? Tell her she's right and that you didn't love her enough and will never love her enough, and tell her to leave your home because it's the middle of the night. Or embrace her in your arms and apologize and offer to let her live with you. So what are we doing with our wayward child, Fleur de Lis, who is murdered over nearly 800 people, who has built a time travel machine, who has showed up in our bedroom at 4 a.m. to be a little judgy about our life choices? What are we doing, Rebecca?
Is Fleur de Lis still 14 at this point?
I feel like, yeah. Anna, that's a tough age. I don't know if I want a 14-year-old, That's
a 14-year-old assassin who's killed almost 800 people.
Like she's coming into my life, but she's like a teenager. She's gonna be so annoying. I don't know about this one.
I am going to choose tell her that she's right and that I didn't love her enough and will never love her enough, and tell her to leave the home because it's the middle of the night. She's killed almost 800 people. She needs to go to jail. So I mean, I want to be forgiving and welcoming and accepting, but you need to go to prison. That's not something you're not a kind of Fleur de Lis is not a person who should be on the streets.
Okay. Interesting. Because twist, I'm going in the opposite direction. It's 4 a.m. This little killer's in my bedroom, and she's like, Mama, love me. If I'm like, listen, kid, not only do I not love you, I've never loved you.
She's gonna kill you.
Definitely gonna kill me. So instead, I'm going in another direction. I'm gonna be like, oh, mon chéri, come here and give Mama a hug. And then like the next possible opportunity, I'm gonna turn her butt into like juvie. She's gotta learn about the consequences of her actions, and that like murder is bad, and like we're gonna get her some psychological help, and then she's gonna go to college way out of state.
She's boarding school
all the way. The best boarding schools that Mama can afford is where that little killer's going. I'm gonna live.
That's true. I'm really putting myself in danger to tell this 14-year-old.
I hope you know how to duck and roll out of that bed. Oh wow, that really was some. I like that. There's like now a continuity of our snap judgment.
There's a storyline, a through line with the snap judgments. I really like that. We could start building a narrative.
I think this is a good one. So I saw one last snap judgment come through from Donna in the chat. Which would you prefer for your art collection? An original Super Friend drawing by Esme, or a Martian Manhunter wall mural by Jean and Alex?
I would prefer a Super Friend drawing by Esme. That was adorable.
As much as I miss Megan, I don't want like a haunted wall photo of her up there.
She's gonna be in there.
We've established she's in there. That's her. I'm sorry. I got stuck with fleur de lis. I get stuck with a haunted wall drawing. I can only take so much. I'm just a person. So I'm going with the Esme drawings, and they're not gonna haunt me. I don't think.
Okay, well, I think we have really made some snap judgments.
We've really decided some stuff. I have a 14-year-old now.
Just to save your life, you're gonna take that shot.
Sure, Mama loves you.
Okay, all right. I think that's it for snap judgments.
No judgments on your snap judgments.
I wish normally I have like tissues around just in case I like sneeze or something, and now I wish I had them because now I'm crying. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio, discussing the Supergirl Season 6 episode titled Nightmare in National City. And so at this point in the Supergirl Radio episode and live stream, we typically will get to our Supergirl Radio and DC TV plugs, so you can know how to keep in touch with us if you would like to do.
If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network, so if you also like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Batwoman, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Green Lantern, Justice League Dark, and Strange Adventures shows, and DC TV After Dark, you can subscribe to the DC TV Podcast Mega Feed on Apple Podcasts. Follow at DC TV Podcast on Twitter, and like DC TV Podcasts on Facebook, or else. This has been a message from Hope, inhabiting the Flash vessel, also known as New Rachel.
And speaking of the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store and Hope, we have some Dreamer-related...
Oh, I'm sorry. Morgan, are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
I didn't I meant to let's try that again. Cuz I screwed that up. I meant to just promote the yeah. Okay, now it's good.
So speaking of the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, we have some Dreamer related designs in that store.
Yeah, so if you like Dreamer, you're a big fan of Nia, we got some stuff in there. So go check us out. We got a lot of cool things in the
Here
store. And we have a Beaker sighting.
Straight in my face. Beaker,
I haven't
buddy.
seen Beaker in a while.
If you're gonna be up here, could you at least look at the camera? No.
No,
He's
he
like,
did not want to do this.
Look at my butt or nothing else.
So check out the TeePublic store and follow at the Lab Cats on Instagram
Yes.
for more Beaker. since he had a short amount of screen time this week on Supergirl Radio. Well, we would also like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. Those people are Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, Susan, Abby, Irmgard, Miriam, Shree, Donna, Nicole, Lizeth, and Anna. So thank you all for doing that. If you would like to support Supergirl Radio on the Patreon, go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio and choose from one of our monthly levels. It gives you a little behind the scenes and extra Supergirl Radio if you would like to see some of our exclusive content that we put out. Most recently, we reviewed the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. So if you want to see what Morgan thought, if Morgan came to the side of Green Lantern.
Have I come around on Green Lantern? Find out.
You'll have to become a Patreon supporter to discover that information. Did we pull her to the side of Green Lantern?
One of the great mysteries of our time. Does Morgan care for Green Lantern?
It's a good question to be answered.
And as a reminder, you still have time for our Flat Supergirl photography contest. There is still time. You have until the series finale of Supergirl. So to enter, download and print the Flat Supergirl image, which you can find in the video description of this live stream, in the show notes of the audio podcast, or at the right-hand side of supergirlradio.com. Then cut out Flat Supergirl and attach her with tape or glue to a popsicle stick, a pen, or a pencil. And then you're going to want to take a creative picture with Flat Supergirl. It can be a selfie. Doesn't have to be a selfie. You can take her to sort of wherever you're going. It's getting towards the end of Halloween. Do you want to take Flat Supergirl into a haunted house? I think that she would like it. Zombie jumps out at her. She's super powerful. Just make sure that she doesn't burn anyone with her heat vision.
She could get scared and
she could get startled. She could get startled. So, you want to keep her away from the performers. But another important thing is to take a picture and then post that picture, as many as you like, as many haunted houses as you want to take her to, and make sure that you post it to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and tag at Supergirl Radio. And don't forget to use the hashtag Supergirl Adventures.
Yeah, you definitely should take her to some haunted houses. Please show us those pictures if you do. Well, you can follow me on Instagram if you'd like it, at the Derby Kid. I post the occasional picture over there. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I'm trying to get back into doing my weekly Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice top critic reviews. So trying to work through those. I'm doing pretty well, but I've still got a long way to go. So if you want to come hang out with me and do that there, feel free to, because they're actually a lot of fun and very insightful. To read what people who join me in the chat think. It actually helps my experience with that. Also, I just want to remind people, while we're here, we are raising money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation of Alabama. So if you would like to participate in our little mini charity fundraiser we're doing this week and next week for the live streams, check the link in the description of the video or in the audio podcast show notes, and you can contribute if you would like. Certainly would appreciate that if you did that. So I just wanted to put that reminder out there, and thank you in advance for your donations.
Yeah, don't forget our charity fundraiser. That's really awesome. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, where this new season started up. It's happening. It's going. And so far, so good.
Okay.
So if you watched last season, you were like, I don't know about this show. This show's getting a little. Maybe come back. Maybe come back. You can blame it all. No, but definitely, even if you decide, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to come back. The podcast is still here for you. Don't worry about it. Just keep listening. But yeah, so we're having fun with the show being back, even though our hiatus was like one day, and we would have liked a little bit longer, but it is what it is. So we're happy to have the show back and excited to see where they're going to go for this new season.
Very cool. Well, I'll definitely be listening, even though I won't be watching, but I will be checking out the podcast. And so thank you for the service that you provide in that case. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon, and we're sorry, but we really have to go and interview some very important international diplomats, and we've already had to reschedule twice.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because her outfit.
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!